Greetings and welcome to another video, and in this one today we are doing another passion for games and we are doing Captive on the Commodore Amiga. And joining me as usual is my friend Jeff, SasaMisa1806. Hello mate.
Yeah, hello everybody.
Right, now this game is fair to say you've spent quite a bit of time on this. You've described it to me as Tony Crowther's magnum opus, and you've also told me that you've played over 10,000 hours, which is a fucking lot, man. So, be easy for me to say what do you like about this game, but I have a feeling it's quite a lot.
Quite simply, it's a space age version of Dungeon Master, and you know how much time I sunk into that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, basically Crowther even admitted in an interview that Dungeon Master was his inspiration for this, and I think he captured the spirit of Dungeon Master beautifully.
Yeah, it's certainly as smooth as a dungeon crawler can be. I mean, I've only really scratched the surface on this game, nowhere near what you've done on it. But I have seen the playthrough we're looking at, and I think people are going to be... I don't know about shocked, but the way you bomb about the tunnels, it amazes me anyway. I mean, because you use the keyboard rather than the arrows, don't you?
Yeah, I used the number pad. To be honest, this was a casual playthrough. If I was playing it seriously, I could probably do the first mission in half the time.
Right, well, this is going to go on for about 2.5 hours, so... grab a cup of coffee or a beer, whatever's your poison, and once we get into the game proper, we'll have Jeff talk us through it and explain what he's doing, and hopefully it might give you an insight in how to play the game and have a go yourselves.
Yeah, I suppose first of all I should mention, although this is the Amiga version I'm playing, I, like most people, played the ST version first. My brother bought it for me in 1990. First year of the apprenticeship, as I recall. My brother and I, we fall out all the time, and that year was no exception. I don't even remember what the reason was. It was probably something trivial. He bought the game for me, probably as a peace offering. I'm sure my mum had something to do with it, but I remember I wouldn't talk to him. But I took the game, loaded it up, instantly hooked. I mean, it was so like Dungeon Master, but he'd expanded on it. I mean, I didn't think it was possible to beat Dungeon Master, but if I'm honest, I would probably put them joint top as my favourite games of all time.
Oh, that's quite a big thing to say, considering how many games I know you've played for a long time. So
I did make up with my brother as well.
Yeah, well, that's always a bonus. Yeah, fairly good music as well on the Amiga version. I don't actually remember the ST one. I'm assuming it was a similar sort of sampled music affair.
To be honest, I'm pretty sure the ST didn't have music.
Oh, right.
I remember the loading screen. First of all, when I loaded it up, I thought, there's something wrong with this. Is it like crashed? It's very strange, very strange raster bar loading screen, but I'm not sure if the ST version had music. I mean, I'd have to check that.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't remember. Well, we'll find out, and I'll say. So, right, here we go. Party on hold. Build your party and talk us through it.
Yeah, one thing I should mention is the Amiga version's got stereo sound. That's probably another thing to do with the sound that's different. But yeah, basically, the object of the game is to rescue Trill. I mean, the story behind the game is Trill was convicted of a crime he didn't commit and put in cryogenic suspension. But he wakes up early in his cell and he's alone and with no hope of escape. And he finds a briefcase in the cell, which is what you saw open in the intro. And it allows him to communicate with 4 droids in an orbiting shuttle. And this is what you're doing here. You're basically activating the droids, which you can give a name.
You're calling them all Jonathan by the looks of it.
Yeah, this is something that was in one of the magazines back in the day. If you call them Jonathan, it gives you maximum stats at the beginning. Useful. Otherwise, the stats are random. There'll be anything between 3 and 15. Apparently, according to some guy on my comments, you can type lambkin as well, and that'll give you 15. If you type bot, B-O-T, you get the worst stats, 335. But yeah, once you powered your droids up, it's time to basically, well, go on your trip towards finding Trill. Now, you don't actually know where Trill is, so you've got to go to the first planet, which was the flashing dot on the map, and essentially find some information that will lead you to Trill. So into the first base. Just like Dungeon Master, they're all populated with monsters, or encounters as they call in this. Now, you start out with droids with no weapons and the worst armor in the game. And, well, you're barehanded. But the sockets that you can see lining those walls do give you the ability to, well, chuck sparks at them. The sparks can be used to charge your chests back up. Those two bars you can see on the coloured squares on the top right-hand side of the screen. One indicates how much damage your droid's taken. One indicates its power level. So you can recharge using those sparks. Here, I'm just using it as a weapon. You can crush them in the doors, just like Dungeon Master. And you notice they're dropping money as well.
Yeah.
Which you can pick up. Just sell at those shops that you can see in the background there. Some walls are trapped, like there. It opens a wall up and there's monsters behind it. And sometimes it might give you a free item. It's giving me a free knuckle duster there. The ones you find are actually not that good. But it's better than nothing at this point.
When you're starting, any weapon's better than nothing.
Yeah, I mean, in order to find the next planet, you need to find the planet probe, which was that professor, or Brains encounter as it's called. And he's got the planet probe. So you kill him, take his clipboard off of him, and get the planet probe. If you leave the base without the planet probe, you have no idea when the next planet is, and you're basically stuck, unless you played it before, in which case you will know where the next planet is, because it's not random. But you do need to find the planet probes. Right, the shops sell a variety of items. This was one of the best features of the game, I think. The money you're getting from killing those encounters, you can use to buy additional equipment, better armor, computer components, which activate those 5 screens you see at the top.
All right.
As well as the ability to repair your droids, to repair your weapons, buy ammo, all kinds of stuff. At the beginning, you haven't got many options. You notice I've bought 3 extra knuckle dusters.
Yeah.
The knuckle dusters, everything in the game requires skill to use. As you can see, brawling is the first skill on the list under robotics. In order to use those knuckle dusters, you need a minimum of 9 levels in brawling. Actually, it's more like 16 levels here, because I went for the best quality knuckle duster. Because everything's got quality as well. There's 8 different grades for each weapon. The better the grade, the better the weapon.
Right, so I'm seeing where you're clicking on brawling there. That's then unlocking sword. So as you increase in each one, it unlocks another skill.
Exactly. Every time you reach 9 in one skill, it unlocks the next skill down. The only exception are robotics. Robotics essentially is the armor you can use. If your robotics levels are low, you can only use cheap armor. Right, you notice I just put the explosives on those generators.
Yeah.
The generator, once the generators are destroyed, it will open the door and you can escape the base. Those notes I'm picking up are basically hints. You can sell those for money. Right, that's the first base destroyed. And now with the planet probe I've found, that one, I'll pick it up. That will tell you where the next planet is. I happen to know where it is because I've played this game so many times I've lost count. I mean, the first mission, yeah, I know where every planet is. So I said effectively, I don't need the planet probes. Even so, you cannot go straight to the station. You have to do the 10 planets before the station. Because the station has got a force field around it. Similar to Return of the Jedi, considering it looks like the Death Star.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially you have to destroy all 10 planets' generators in order to lower the shield around the station before you can beam aboard. Right, we're now on to the second. Buta was the first planet. This is Pelphi. Right, you get iris doors inside on this. The doors are not random. The codes are the same every game. In fact, the bases are the same every game. Even though it does use a seed engine in order to generate the levels. In fact, the seed engine is really quite ingenious, as it explains on the Ultimate Captive Guide, which is actually a very good website. He actually tells you exactly how the seed engine works, because he has actually talked to Tony Crowther.
Yeah, I'll put a link up to his website in the comments and also on the screen. So yeah, no worries there.
Yeah, it's a French guy called Pierre, similar to the Dungeon Master Encyclopedia. That's a French guy as well. They seem to have a penchant for this sort of thing.
There's a lot of enemies in that corridor, aren't there?
Yeah, every base will introduce a new enemy. You're actually getting these like mummy enemies here. They've only got simple melee attacks. The little pygmy monsters have got simple melee attacks that do little or no damage. Those television sets, or I used to call them Rumpum Stumpums. I don't know why. But yeah, you got these leak monsters, like space leaks or something.
You're mullering them little blokes, aren't you?
Yeah, they're literally the weakest enemies in the game. Yeah, this guy's a bit stronger than the last Brains encounter. So you notice he does like a triple kick on you, which does hurt you a bit. He's not terribly strong. That gives you your next planet probe.
Oh, right, so you put the password in and it gives you the probe, right? I got you.
Yeah. You don't actually need the code, so if you already know the code, you don't actually need the clipboard. But yeah, the planet probe's very heavy. Weighs about 90 kilos, I think, so good idea to put it on a strong droid, otherwise it will slow you down.
There is a encumbrance mechanic in this game, then.
Yeah. Your droids can only carry so much. At the beginning of the game, the droids are very weak. They can only carry about 100 kilos. Yeah, just like Dungeon Master, your party moves as fast as the slowest member. So don't overload your droids. Yeah, these television sets here, they shoot electricity bolts here. Low damage, but they are range attacks. I mean, I'm sticking with the knuckle dusters because the knuckle dusters have got, well, they cycle very quickly. And the enemies aren't terribly tough here. That was a trap I just trod on. It basically shuts the wall behind you. So you're effectively trapped in this room now. So you've got to find the switch to disable that. If you don't disable the traps and you blow the generators, you're trapped in the base and you go up with it. In which case it's game over.
Definitely a good idea to disable that then.
Yeah. Right, here are the switches that disable it. On the early bases, they're kind of obvious, the switches, because they're indented. But on later bases, they're not. You know, so it picks up a battle glove there. The battle gloves hit a bit better than the knuckle dusters. The Z-lots, which are the free ones I'm picking up occasionally, require no skill to use at all. But they only have so many hits in them and then they just disappear. Well, I do stick with the battle gloves at this point because they cycle fairly quickly and the enemies don't take many hits to kill. You can get swords if you want. Swords actually hit from a square away because they've got a longer reach. But they cycle very slowly and the damage isn't really worth the hassle. And I want to save my money for better armour at this point, because you do start with really terrible armour. Those razor walls, if they land on top of your head, they do incredible damage and they crush everything that's underneath them. So if your droid dies, all your body parts will be crushed and you've lost that droid permanently. So don't get trapped under a razor wall.
All right, so you can. So if it came to it, you could continue with just 3 droids.
You could. It doesn't destroy your droid chip, though. You still got that, but you'd have to rebuy all the armour.
Right, gotcha.
Here, I'm pretty sure I upgrade to battle gloves because they're a little bit better than knuckle dusters. Basically, the lower down the list, the weapon is, the better it is. But generally, it's more costly. It cycles slower. It depends on the weapon, essentially. I'm also buying some devscapes here, which are your devices that you plug into the interface. Each droid can have one. You can carry as many devscapes as you like, but you can only plug one in at a time. Right, so we up the experience a bit here. So I've got at least 24 brawling. That allows you to use Battle Glove Super and then start chucking it in swords. Now, when you reach 9 swords, up come handguns. Now, swords you don't really want to bother with, so go straight to handguns, because that's your first range attack.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the way I play it. Now, just like Dungeon Master, you can sit around outside and just keep killing monsters forever. Grind away all you want. Nothing stopping you doing that. But I did it myself back in the day. But nowadays, I like a challenge. I like to see if I can do it with minimal experience. Because I think it just makes the game a lot more fun, especially on the later levels when the enemies are capable of like obliterating your whole party with like a few hits.
And say no one really likes grinding if they haven't got to, so...
Well, Dungeon Master, I mean, Christ, I around for years in that game. But really, you can complete the whole game in 3 hours. Actually, you can complete the whole game in 21 minutes. If you speed up. I've never done it myself, but it can be done. I've seen it. Right, we found the generators. So clear out the room. Don't have to clear out the room. When I'm doing a speed run, I usually just run in, set the generators and leg it. At this point, I'm taking it a bit slower. So it is kind of a casual game, a playthrough. Someone did ask me in a comment this week, I think it was, saying like, is this a speed run? I said, nah, more like a casual playthrough. Right, this shop sells your first lot of armour. It only sells Tindran. Someone asked me about that. Why do you sell the heads? Your droids are headless. I said only the leader needs a head. So it saves on repairs.
Yeah, was it save on weight as well, wasn't it?
No, because when you take the body part off, you notice the weight of the droid can carry has gone down.
Oh, right.
It all contributes to how much the droid can carry. But it's not important at this point. I bought a couple of Tindran Super chests, which are a lot better than the Tindran Basic you start with. Charge them up on the socket. If you touch as I said at the beginning, if you touch anything else on the socket, destroyed. Only a chest, a battery, and you can use it as a weapon. Nothing else. So be careful around the sockets. Because if you accidentally touch a planet probe on it, say, that's it, destroyed.
Yeah, I'm assuming you are not going to find another one without a restart.
Without a restart. But you notice that the bars have shrunk a bit on the back droids there. They're a little bit damaged now because they've taken some damage to the chest. This game's got locational damage. Unlike Dungeon Master, where it would recall damage as a whole, and body parts could get injured, but it did not have locational damage. Each limb did not have its own hit points. But in this, each limb, basically you can see you got feet, legs, hands, head, chest, etc. Each one basically has a structure. If the structure goes to 0, well, you lose that body part. If the chest goes to 0, the droid's destroyed, and it all falls on the floor in a heap. You notice I've turned on one of the devscapes, the blue character.
Yeah. So what's that signifying then?
That's the route finder. The route finder basically tells you the way back to the entrance. You notice it's pointing towards the entrance.
Oh, yeah, I see.
So basically you don't have to guess where the entrance was. Because believe me, the bases get very long later on and you can't remember the way back. And that flight, well, basically the explosion's chasing you when you detonate the generators. You do not want to get caught in now, otherwise it blows you up. All right, we've done the second base. The first 2 bases aren't too bad. I seem to know where the third base is.
Yeah, funny that.
don't accidentally press lander instead of orbit, because it will launch the lander and then it will take like about half hour for the lander to go across the map. So make sure you take the shuttle to the planet, not the lander. You notice now it's pointing to the entrance.
Yeah.
Basically, the route finder always points to the entrance, whether you're inside or outside of the base. So it's a good way to find your way back. Right, now you start to get switches, which open sections of wall, doors, etc., etc. The enemies are a little bit tougher on this mission, but the generators are actually right at the beginning. So theoretically, you could just blow the generators now, but you haven't got the planet probes. I say probes because this one's actually got 2 of them.
Oh, blimey.
Oh, that's some R2-D2s there. I used to call these plant pots. I've just activated 2 shields, one on the green character, one on the yellow character. The shields soften the blows of the enemies. 1 shield will cut the damage in half, 2 shields will cut it to a quarter. 3 shields an eighth, 4 shields a 16th. The shields have got finite strength. They will eventually run out. But it's better to use the shields than it is to get your body parts damaged, because repairs are expensive. The shields can be repaired very cheaply.
I do like the way, we're on the 3rd base and we've got the 3rd lot of different graphics. It's not like the same thing over and over and over again.
They've actually got names. I can't remember what they are offhand, but yeah, each one. There's actually 4 different types of graphics. The station's got a different one as well. It cycles every 3 levels. Right, that's a doorman, that is. Basically, he's carrying a code. These codes are crucial. If you accidentally lose a code, like it gets destroyed, or you accidentally sell it, or essentially you're trapped. You need those codes, so make sure you pick them up all times. Well, these are R2-D2s. These are a good enemy, these are, but they're extremely weak. You can punch them to death, and they're worth a lot of experience. They shoot electricity at you, which stings a little if you ain't got any shields up. But other than that, they're not particularly a threat. Those whirlwind enemies, they do punch pretty hard, they do. You just keep going up and down the ladder, smacking them, then going back down, and the enemy kind of, well, sometimes they'll turn away and walk away from the ladder.
There's definitely a decent range of enemies in the game.
Yeah, I think there's about 30 different types of encounters. I mean, we've only seen a handful so far.
And yeah, we've got to bear in mind as well, unlike the days of things turning up on Blu-rays, this was on 1 3.5-inch floppy disk, wasn't it?
Yep. There was a second disc in the box on the ST. Most people believe that was some future levels. No, it was for single-sided ST owners. Essentially, the game was on 2 discs. But if you had a double-sided ST, or a double-sided drive, you didn't need the second disc. Never used it. The Amiga version only came with a single disc, because the Amiga never had a single-sided drive, did it?
Not that I know of.
Right, that's that code there that opens up that force field. The force fields don't kill you if you walk into them. You can turn it back on as well if you want. When the generators are blown, all the force fields will turn off automatically. Even if you switched it back on. It's not a good idea to switch them back on, because if you're running away from a powerful encounter, you will get trapped and, well, you'll get killed. One thing, just like Dungeon Master, just like any dungeon crawler, you do not want to get trapped. You don't want to get trapped, you don't want to get flanked, you don't want to get attacked from behind. You always want the enemies in front of you, if possible. There's these whirlwind enemies again. These do punch quite hard, these do. So keep backing up after you've punched them a couple of times. I mean, picking up the money is a bit annoying, I suppose, but it does kind of mitigate it by having one hand free, like I've got there.
Yeah.
So you can quickly grab the stuff off the floor. After a while, you also kind of get used to which enemies drop good money. So you essentially concentrate on those and leave the rest. Right, now we're going for our first firearm. You get 3 types, pistol, Colt, and Magnum. The pistols are extremely weak, but the ammo costs practically nothing. The Colts are middling, fairly cheap ammo. The Magnums hit really hard, but the ammo is stupidly expensive, so go for the Colts.
So you're doing just giving them to the are you filling up all the droids with them, are you?
I think I'll go for 6 here.
All right, so you've still got your 2 spare free hands then.
Yeah. There's
Makes
your ammo.
sense.
As you can see, the ammo is just a mere 50. So the Magnum, the ammo's 300. So it's like 6 times more expensive. The Magnums do hit fairly hard though, but you need a lot of experience to use them. I mean, a Colt, I think I went for a Colt 3, didn't I, or something there. So you only need about 12 in firearms or handguns. If you want Magnums, you have to need at least 17 levels. And every level takes more and more and more experience. I mean, at the moment, the experience is like barely in the hundreds. Believe me, when you go up to the top level weapons, you know, it ends up being tens of thousands of experience.
Oh, so you filled all the guns up, all the clips up, and now you're restocking your storage supply.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, the ammo's fairly light at this point, so no issue with, you know, stocking up. Should also mention that you can never sell ammo back to the shopkeeper. He won't buy it. He'll buy your weapons, he'll buy your armor, he'll buy your devscapes and your optics, you know, the computer chips. He will not buy batteries back, and he will not buy ammo of any variety. So you usually end up either having to chuck it away or just use it. It's not an issue at this point because the ammo's cheap. You should always try to equip the characters at the back with ranged weapons more than the characters at the front, because the characters at the back shoot down the middle of the corridor, which means it will hit all the enemies in front of you. The characters at the front shoot depending on where they're standing. Character on the left shoots on the left, character on the right shoots on the right. So it's more important to have more guns on the back than it is on the front.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, whenever I used to play Dungeon Master right all the way through to something like Grimrock, I always used to give the characters at the back the ranged weapons anyway.
Yep. That glowing blue door you could see in the background there.
Yeah.
Essentially, that will reflect shots back at you, so don't shoot at it, because the shots will hurt. In fact, your own weapons hurt you a lot more than they hurt the enemy. I used to call these robot eggs, but they're actually critters, aren't they? From the film Critters.
Yeah, they do look like it, don't they?
Yeah, Tony Crowther actually recorded his dog for that sound effect. I kid you not. All the sound effects, he actually recorded his dog and all kinds of strange things. Sped it up, pitch bent it. These things here, basically, yeah, they've got the same dog sound effect. Those critters, they essentially have it sped up. You can clearly hear it's the same sound effect. That's a lift. Basically, click the buttons to go between the floors. So you got lifts as well. You can have a maximum of 5 floors in any base. The bases individually are twice the size of the levels in Dungeon Master, 64 by 32 squares, so huge. And they can be divided into 5 floors. So yeah, we're talking about an extremely large levels as time goes on. At the moment, the levels are still fairly small. See, I've got ranged weapons now, so you can deal with these little maggots easily.
It amazes me how you keep track of where you're running about on these things.
I've played it so many times, I know these levels inside out, but you can buy a mapper optic, and you can buy a radar optic, which obviously will help you out. Because like all dungeon crawlers, this game does suffer from tunnel vision. You can't see what's left and right of you. So it's very easy to get flanked. Don't get trapped in the lift doors, that hurts. Basically, everything in this game hurts you, so, you know, try not to run into it.
And weapons are certainly quite effective at the moment.
Yeah, the Colts aren't bad at all, considering how cheap they are. I mean, they're an extremely cheap weapon early game. I mean, these robot eggs here, they're incredibly slow, so you can shoot them from a distance. They've got good armour. I call them robot eggs because they are paralysed by water later in the game. They can't move through water, which tells you that they can't be living things then.
Yeah, your yellow character's getting a bit low on power there, then, isn't he?
Yeah, it's because of the shields do take power. Don't get crushed under that razor wall to your left there. That will hurt like the blazes. You can trap the enemies under them as well, but you notice there that Brains encounter wouldn't walk forward. Brains encounters will never walk under razor walls, because if they did, well, the planet probe would get crushed. So they will not walk under razor walls. You can use that to your advantage, as I did. I shot him at a distance. But yeah, basically everything uses power in this game. Shooting your weapons, walking, looking, your shields. Some things drain power faster than others. I mean, at the moment, I've only got I've got crappy Tindrin chests there, which aren't a lot of power. I think they've only got about 160 or something. It's quite low.
So I've noticed occasionally, like there, you're pressing the sleep button. What does that do for your characters?
Speeds the game up.
Oh, right, okay.
A lot of people would consider it cheating, but it speeds the game up. Basically, when you sleep, it shuts the droids down and time passes very quickly. Now, normally, you'd only do that like in Dungeon Master when you want to sleep. In Dungeon Master, it makes your characters recover. But in this, I use it just to speed the lift up and speed the encounters up and speed the doors up. Essentially, I'm just micromanaging, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, well, that definitely explains. So I was wondering a minute ago, like over that last one, why is he pressing the sleep button? But now, yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, it's just, I do it in Dungeon Master. Sometimes I'll have a rat biting me and I'll just be sleeping, just to get the next attack in, and so I don't have to wait for it. I mean, yeah, you could say that's stupid. You can't sleep while a monster's attacking you. Grimrock, it wouldn't let you do it, would it? If you tried to sleep in Grimrock while there was an enemy adjacent to you, it would just instantly wake up again. Games like Ida Beholder 2 especially, it would not let you sleep in certain areas. It would just say your sleep's plagued by nightmares, you can't rest. But AD&D, it handled sleep differently, didn't it, in camping and all that.
Yeah.
Right, we've got 2 planet probes this time, so now you can find 2 planets. Well, I know where Trikos is, but the next planet is Southsty, I think, up to the left there. But we go for it. You could do them in any order. You don't have to do Trikos first, but remember that each level is harder than the preceding one. You notice we've got rifles up now.
Yeah, I noticed you were chucking a lot of points into swords there, even though you'd already opened handgun. Is there any particular reason for that, or just for completion?
Basically, you notice that every time you gain a level, it adds to your dexterity, vitality, and wisdom. So the swords levels are cheap. Look, they're only about 100 odd. So get the cheap levels to 24. That's as high as you can get them. Purely for the stats. You notice the stat points are going up. Look, dexterity, vitality, and wisdom are all rising.
Yeah.
Now, I should probably explain what they do, actually. Dexterity is how accurately you shoot with your weapons. Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The higher your dexterity, the more accurate the shots, the more damage you do. Simple as that. Vitality is how tough your droids are. It's coupled with the stats of the armor, reduces damage essentially. And wisdom affects how much experience you get. The higher the wisdom, the more experience you get from killing things. Everything gives you experience. Right, you notice now I'm upside down and walking on the ceiling.
Yeah, why is that?
Because those enemies are flying, and you can't hit them if you're on the floor. So you look, they're flying enemies, flying television sets. So you walk on the ceiling and shoot them. You'll get a lot of flying enemies in this. American footballers. No, they're GoBots. I used to call them American footballers because that's what they look like. They're GoBots, aren't they? You can see they are.
I used to call them Turrican men.
They're GoBots. Oh, you got another doorman there. They just punch you, they do. No particular threat. Certainly not with 2 shields. There's more of those damn television sets. They shoot electricity at you as well. Minimal damage, especially with 2 shields. You get a couple of lizard monsters here or whatever they are. They got swords, as you can see. They hit fairly hard, they do. But they are melee attackers. So
they're like lizard goat men, aren't they?
Yeah. Not much of a threat. They're worth a lot of experience. I know they drop a lot of money, so you do want to try to take them out, if possible. You notice there, it's shut. Well, I've reopened them now, but you notice that base, the minute you walk in, you get shut in a room. So if you want to escape from the base, you have to open those 2 sections of wall.
Oh, this is the game where the walls have got rollers on it, haven't they?
Yeah, I didn't mention that at the beginning, did I? Yeah, basically the roller walls. When the game first come out, and we all, I think everyone fell for this. They forgot to mention in the manual that you press the right mouse button to push the roller walls. So we all got into the first base, saw it was only 2 squares long, and thought, is the game not loaded properly? There's like 2 squares. Where do you go? And they mentioned in I think it was ST Action at the time, they mentioned in the magazine, they said, oh, we forgot to, Mindscape have apologised for not mentioning in the manual that you're supposed to press the right mouse button. By then, though, I think quite a few of us had worked it out. That's how you push the roller walls.
Yeah, well, next time we see one, we'll point it out.
Yeah, you can actually exploit that as well. I mean, you never need to push a roller wall more than 1 square to open it. But sometimes you can actually exploit that mechanic, and you can push the roller wall all over the place and actually rub out sections of fire, water. And I probably won't get to do it in this game because it doesn't occur until the much higher levels. But yeah, I've exploited it more than once. You can trap yourself as well, so it's not a good idea to do it unless you know what you're doing. Because you can trap yourself in a small space, and that's it. It's reload time.
Yeah, that's the sort of way my game would go.
Yeah, I mean, I know this from playing it so many times. I mean, I've been talking to a guy this week, via comments, with him saying he's giving the first mission a go again, and he's been asking me what's the best combination of weapons? What's the best combination of armor? We've been talking about the various encounter types. And the best way to approach playing it. I said, it depends on what kind of game you're playing. If you're playing casually, like you're only going to do the first mission, then you can use various strategies. But if you're playing it like me for the long haul, like 48 missions long haul, which took me 3 months, then your strategy is going to be entirely different.
Is that the furthest you've ever gone into the game?
Yeah, I think it was 532 levels. I think it's 11 times 48. I think it's 532. It might be 500. I think it's 512. It's something like that. Yeah,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. Station 48 was where I stopped. I've still got the save game somewhere. I did read on the site in the past that some guy claimed he got to mission 100, but I doubted his veracity, as it were, because he didn't even know that each mission had 11 levels. Because first of all, he said, oh, I've got to base 1,000. And I thought, mission 100. I thought, yeah, but wouldn't that be 1,100 levels? 100 times 11. And he kind of ummed and ahed over it. And it's yeah, I'm not sure you have really done that. Because in order to get to mission 100, we're talking probably 6 months play.
Yeah, I don't understand why people lie about stuff like that. Saying you've got to level 1,000 on captive, it's not going to impress the ladies, and it's not going to further your career or anything. All it basically does is make you look like a fucking idiot. So I don't know why people lie about stuff like that.
Well, that's it. I mean, unless you actually got a save game where you can prove it. I mean, the only reason I stopped at mission 48 was because all my stats had maxed out. They were all 253 for Dex, Vitality, and Wisdom. And once they've maxed out, that's it. That's as tough as you can get. From that point onwards, the game gets no harder. The game's difficulty maxes out about mission 8 anyway. That's as tough as the monsters generally get. So the only thing influencing how much damage you do, how much damage you take, and how much experience you gain are your stats. And once they've maxed out, there really is no point in continuing. But one thing I will say is the seed engine, it really does generate some interesting levels.
Yeah, you said you was going to mention that.
Yeah, because I mean, the actual levels, they are not programmed. You know, Crowther did not sit down and do what they did with Dungeon Master. Dungeon Master, each level was programmed by somebody. Somebody sat down and they made that map. This is made by the computer. It made the levels. He designed the seed engine, and then the game seeds the levels. A bit like Dungeon Hack. Dungeon Hack was another game that did that. But the difference between this and Dungeon Hack is Dungeon Hack, the seed was random. You'd never get the same 2 levels twice, whereas in this, you get the same level each time. But it is all generated by a computer. The only level that's hard-coded is the first base, Buter. That one is hard-coded. But all the others, all made by the engine. And it is fascinating what it does sometimes with the various, the various pieces it uses to make a base. As you'll see as the levels go on. Right, we grabbed the 2 planet probes. Repair all your shields. I mean, every base is the same. Wipe the encounters out, find the generators, find the planet probes, then go to the shop, repair your droids, repair your shields, get whatever upgrades you need. You notice I've upgraded my armor now. I didn't mention that, did I? I've upgraded my armor to a Cop-Hater, which looks suspiciously like C-3PO armor.
Yeah, it does a bit, doesn't it?
Cop-Hater, obviously based on copper, tin based on Tindran tin, human basic, well, just human. Yeah, each one's based on a metal usually. Each upgrade in armor will give you more power, more hit points, more resistances, and so on. I mean, human basic is extremely weak, but it has got fairly high agility, which will resist damage to an extent. Tindran has got more hit points. Cop-Hater's got, I think it's got twice as many hit points. Cop-Hater's got 3 times as many hit points. And I think the amount of power goes up by a factor of 2, 3, 4. I mean, by the time you get up to like Ironhide, which is like the 5th lot of armor, you've got like 10 times as much power as you had at the beginning. But the enemy, conversely, gets stronger and stronger weapons.
Do the enemies rank with you, or is it like a set sort? They're always the same on a particular level in their power?
Completely random. Basically, each enemy has got 8 different speeds, 8 different powers, 8 different armor types, and Crowther also put in a random element as well. So that although the enemy will be the same enemy every time you play, it will not be the same as another variety. So say you had 2 tanks. One tank would not be the same as another tank, even though they're the same enemy type. It is very involved, I suppose you could say.
That was a rollerball there, weren't it, next year?
Yep, that's the one you can push. You never need to push them more than once. The lifts will actually still work when the generators blow. Otherwise, you'd kind of be trapped, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So, yep, out the exit. And if you've forgotten to open those walls there, you're dead. Because you're trapped. Yeah, so make sure you always release the walls. Or the trapped walls. Right, 4 bases done now. I can usually do these 4 bases in 20 minutes. On a speedrun game. And now the bases start getting a bit bigger. This one's quite big, Salty. Salty. You notice I've got 2 more planet probes as well, so that's telling me where the next couple are.
Yeah.
You can't save the planet probes. Once you know where the station is, all planet probes after that, there's no point in picking them up anymore. If you attempt to save them to the next mission, they disappear out your backpack. So you can't keep spares. So you like roll a wall. Never need to put, you notice I stood on a spinner there.
Yep.
Yeah, the guy commented today, he said, I hate spinners. He said, oh, they were terrible in Ida Beholder. Yeah, they were. But at least in Ida Beholder, you had a compass.
Yeah, because you didn't have a compass in Dungeon Master for the spinners, did you?
You had a compass you could find. It was actually hidden on level 2, but you had to carry it in your hand to see the pointer on it. Otherwise, it was in your backpack and kind of useless.
Yeah.
There's a compass in this, but I don't use it. I mean, I can always see the spinners because it's kind of obvious. You see the graphics flick when you tread on them. But you notice now we're getting you're getting more or less the same enemies as you got on. You get the same enemies you had on the previous base, but they generally add a couple of new types. The dead ends or the cul-de-sacs, you always find a money bag of quite a large denomination, usually anywhere between 500 and 1,000 gold. So worth going for those. Not all the touchpads are traps. Sometimes nothing happens when you tread on them. It's just a case of, well, having a look and see. You notice I'm still using Colts at the moment because they are still fairly good weapons. I mean, rifles were on the previous level, but they were kind of in a out-of-the-way part of the base, so I didn't bother with it. Now, you can clear the bases out 100% if you want. Kill all the encounters, visit all the shops, get all the experience, but I'm not bothering here. I'm just going for I'm just doing them I'm not doing them as quick as I can, but I'm not making a conscious effort to kill everything because there's no requirement to. That's similar to Dungeon Master. I mean, you can run around the encounters if you want. You don't have to fight them.
It is good that these sort of games let you like play it your own way. You know, obviously you've got to do the task at hand, but how you go about it is your own choice. And I think that's the thing that appealed about a lot of these games was that kind of, I don't know if sandbox or open world is the right phrase, but you know, you had more than one way to complete the job.
That's true. This one's almost like a roguelike because you earn money, you buy weapons, and you wreck the base, and then you move on to the next one. I'm getting a tank here. The tanks have got shells. They hit fairly hard, so don't get shot by it.
Yeah, good tip. Don't get shot by a shank. I can't even say it. Don't get shot by a tank.
Yeah. And they're actually the weakest kind of tank at this point. But he's got a very slow rate of fire. But yeah, you don't really want to get shot by them because shells hurt. You notice I passed a fire hydrant back then as well. The fire hydrants, you can turn them on and they will flood the area. Any mechanical enemy that steps in water will be immobilized. It will damage your droids, but minimally, only your feet. It doesn't immobilize your droids.
I'm assuming you can either repair or buy new feet.
Yeah, basically. You notice I'm swapping the droid chips around there.
Yeah.
Basically, it's so that I can get 17 rifles on one character. Because the Hunter, or the double-barreled shotgun, is a very good weapon. And it's better to have one character with a double-barreled shotgun rather than 4 characters with terrible handguns. Because that double-barreled shotgun hits hard. It's one of the best weapons in the game. It's got a very long range, cycles quickly, and the ammo's fairly cheap at this point. So try to get the Hunter as soon as possible. In fact, I'll stick with Hunters for this entire playthrough. They're that good. You know, it's automatics has come up on him as well.
Yep.
Now, automatics are good weapons, but they're expensive. The ammo's expensive. They cycle slowly, and you need a lot of experience to use them. So for this particular playthrough, we're not bothering with any of that. We're sticking with rifles. I mean, this particular playthrough will not go up to maximum. It takes pretty much 2 missions to get the best. But above automatics, you've got lasers. Lasers are very quick. They cycle faster than any other weapon. They do hit fairly hard, but the ammo is ridiculously expensive. Then you get cannons, which are, as you'd expect, extremely powerful. but they're also extremely dangerous to your party members. As in, if you shoot at close range, the shots will hit you. They will bounce off the walls and hit you back, and they hurt like hell. And the top weapon are basically spray guns, which Tony Crowther actually spelt wrong. He put spay guns.
Perhaps they shoot the bollocks off something, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah. Well, basically, the spray guns, they are poison gas, the acid disperser, and the flamethrower. The flamethrower is the most devastating weapon in the game. It will literally kill everything. It hits everything on a square and everything in front of that. So if you shoot it down a corridor, it has the potential to hit like a dozen encounters. It's by far the strongest weapon in the game, and you get the most ammo for it as well, 60 shots. But they cost like 32,000 gold, I think. They're not cheap, and they literally take millions of experience to use. The top level ones. So yeah, obviously hunters actually shoot high because you're shooting from the shoulder, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you have to turn upside down to hit the low enemies. A bit inconvenient, but they do hit extremely hard. I mean, I'm dumping the Colts now. Always try to find a shop that sells the like weapon, because that way you get the full price for it. If you sell it to a guy who doesn't sell that weapon or that particular grade of weapon, you get half price for it. So try to find one where you can sell it for full price.
Yeah, that's handy to know, because I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, it's all about conserving resources. I mean, like I said, you can sit around outside grinding forever until you got 100,000 gold if you want, but I'm going for a minimalist approach just to make it more interesting. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here for 20 hours grinding, which is not fun.
But you make the best of videos.
But you can go for rifles here. So I've gone for a rifle on the front characters. Now, the rifles use the same ammo as the Colt, the 50 gold ones. And I've gone for like 3. You're probably wondering what that dice is for. Someone commented on that on this video. They said, like, what's the dice for? Didn't realise that you use it to open the iris doors. Basically, when you click on the dice, it shows you which button on the iris doors to press next. It does not work on the entrance door. That you have to guess. Right. It's the same every game, though. Yeah, repairing my shields again here, because you're going to need them. The enemies are becoming stronger and stronger now. If you get hit without a shield up, you will take a lot of damage. Yeah, so I've got 3 rifles, and I've got I've got 5 rifles, and 5 rifles and 2 hunters.
Yep.
The rifles are surprisingly strong for a basic rifle. They fire a single shot, but it does hit fairly hard, and it's got a long reach. I think it's about 12 squares or something.
Well, that's what you want. I mean, you want something that will do a decent amount of damage at a decent distance.
Yeah, as you can see, it took them down with 2 shots.
Yeah, that's quite devastating.
Yeah, same as this thing here. It's gone. One cycle of fire, one salvo in it, and they're down. Yeah, these little maggot enemies, you just blow them away with nothing now.
Yeah, although you said it was inconvenient, that's quite a novel approach, isn't it? Having to go on the ceiling to use certain weapons and that.
Yeah. It did throw me when I first met these red guys here. They're kind of annoying. They've got rifles, they have, so they do hit fairly hard. I mean, each weapon essentially has the weapons basically, they have a damage potential, but they also have a penetrating power. It's not simply a matter of a weapon hits and does damage. It has to penetrate the enemy's armor. If it doesn't overcome the enemy's armor, it does a lot less damage than it should. That's why the low-level enemies go down straight away with the hunters, but the other enemies, like them robot eggs there, they took more hits because their armor's very heavy. I think the only weapon in the game that pretty much ignores the enemy's armor are the spray guns. The flamethrower especially will just go straight through everything. It's such a shame that the enemy end up armed with them after a while.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of games, though, isn't it? I mean, some of the things in this game that you know, it's this, you wonder how Tony thought of it all. It's like to charge the plug sockets to charge your armor up and stuff like that. You know, it's if I was designing the game, I'm not sure I would have thought of something like that. And it's just that kind of little nuance that really sets this game above a lot of others.
It does. Took him 9 months in total to do the ST version, and he did it all by himself. You know, no massive team of programmers, no 100 million budget,
Yeah,
no
he's got his
animators.
Yeah, and he got his brother to do the music, didn't he?
Yeah, Chris Crowther did the music, and he also helped him with the seed engine. There's more of these red guys. Yeah, I've got the shields up because their shots do nip a bit. Don't shoot that door there. You can get crushed under that, and it will do a bit of damage, but it's not as devastating as a razor wall. But the enemy can shoot at those blue doors there, and the shots will get reflected back at them. But this base here, I've actually skipped half this base out. The other half of the base is where the planet probes are. Bases tend to be laid out in 3 ways, I've noticed. You usually have the planet probe and the generators in the same place, usually near the end. Sometimes you can have the base split in 2, where the generators are one end and the planet probe's the other end. Sometimes the planet probe will be at the beginning and the generators will be at the beginning. It depends on how the seed engine actually put it all together. In this case, they're nowhere near each other. You notice I've got a new DevScape switched on there, the greaser. Boosts the speed, basically. Allows you to run incredibly quickly. At this point, I pretty much have it switched on all the time because it allows you to run twice as fast. And you're going to need it because the enemies are going to get faster and faster now.
Fucking hell, man. The way you zip around in this game, you're going fast enough already, let alone having that on.
Triceratops there, just blow him away. Yeah, there's 5 types of dinosaurs outside the bases. On the early levels, you only get the, I think the Diplodocus is in the water. I think you get the Triceratops later on, then you get the Pterodactyl. And later on, you get, I think you get those little compy things on one level, and you get a Tyrannosaurus later on. They're not particularly damaging enemies. They're useful for shooting for a bit of extra money. It's worth mentioning as well that the water outside the bases is very deep. Don't walk in it. It does 16 times normal damage and it will kill your droids very quickly.
Yeah, that's a good point to remember, for definite.
Droids essentially don't like water or fire, so don't step on it. Stay out of the water.
It's quite a big outside section on this one.
Yeah, this one's quite a long way away, CV. Right, this is the first base where the difficulty seriously jumps. Right, now you start getting guys with range weapons. Right, this is the first of the I used to call that guy a space cowboy because that's what he looks like, but he's the weakest of the 4 brothers. Right, those little son of a bitches, they will jam your radar so you can't see. If they shoot at you, those smiley faces.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to be without your radar. I've also noticed every time you walk into a wall, it kind of flickers the screen, doesn't it? Like someone's hitting a CRT. That's quite good as well.
Yeah, damages you a little bit, but nothing serious. This is the first base where the difficulty seriously jumps because you now get mines. And mines do a lot of damage. In fact, they can destroy a droid instantly if you haven't got any shields up.
You've probably said, and I've probably missed it. What's the rainbow U or V up in the top monitor on the left there?
That's the anti-grav device.
Right. Okay. Oh, that shows when you're when you're on the scene. No, that's all right.
Upside down.
I just wondered what it was.
Yeah, that's the anti-grav. It tells you the anti-grav's active. I keep that one plugged in all the time here because that way you can quickly, because you see the 8 buttons down the bottom. 4 of them correspond to the form of red. No, was it red? Was it red, green, yellow, blue? Yeah, space cars. These things have got very high power automatics. Don't stay near them. They also fly higher, so only the rifles are them. You notice there's dropped a mine.
Yeah.
You do not want to tread on that. Mines will detonate instantly if you shoot electricity over them. You can detonate them by touching them, shooting electricity over them, or running over them with a shield or a deflector. You do not want to step on them without any shields on. They will hurt like the blazes.
Can you like switch to the ceiling and walk over them, or do they still go off?
You can walk over them. The enemies will also walk on them as well and blow up. So there's that. The anti-grav device also drains a lot of power, so you've got to keep an eye on that droid that's using it. But as I said, the 4 buttons that are down the bottom, 4 of them correspond to your 4 monitors, red, green, yellow, blue. The 5th button on the bottom left of those 8 buttons, that's your camera. I haven't got a camera at this point. They're not really useful until the station. It looks like a Dalek when you put it on the floor. You can drive the camera around. It's useful for actually scouting ahead, but I don't use it here. And the other 3 buttons, I think one of them activates the mini screen when you're sleeping. It shows down in the, below the main screen, it shows you a little kind of mini view of the dungeon.
Oh, right.
And I think one of the buttons is quality. I think that's just to speed up the game. I never really felt the need to use that. And I think the other one switches off. You see the way the ladder symbols are greyed out?
Yeah.
Basically, if you click that 8th button, they are switched on permanently. So they never grey out. But you notice when I move over a ladder, see, one's not greyed out now, isn't it? Because it tells you can go up.
Yeah, it's just little things like that that really do amaze me with this game, and why it's so good and why quite a few people remember it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen screenshots of like the early versions before the game was finished, and all the button layout was different. It used to have a different method of saving instead of that disc next to the 4, or next to the 4, or that kind of flower shape, isn't it, with the 4 colours?
Yeah.
Which is for getting your backpacks up. So yeah, the layout was considerably different originally.
There's certainly plenty of money to pick up.
Yeah, at this point, those plant pot enemies or the R2-D2s, they drop a massive amount. Anytime you get a large group of enemies, like you can have a maximum of 9 enemies per square. The ones that are, 9 encounters per square, obviously drop a lot more money than, say, a single tank. So it's worth going for those. You got a bunch of, there's 9 of them there, isn't it? So it's good money there, worth picking up. I mean, in retrospect, I suppose if you made the game now, the money would just be a number in your backpack. A bit like the original Elite, isn't it? Where it'd say you got X amount of bounty and it just adds it to a total. You don't have to actually pick the money up.
Yeah.
That was probably a shortcoming. I know my brother doesn't like that at all. He says it's just annoying.
Yeah, well, I mean, on games like The Legend of Grimrock, you can just walk over the things on the floor and pick them up automatically, can't you?
Yeah, your arrows and stuff. Arrows, quarrels, throwable weapons in general. So you notice this area is partially flooded. But you'll see numbers flash up every so often on the indicators, indicating your feet are being damaged. They look 2.
Yeah.
It's telling you your feet are being damaged.
Yeah, get out of the water.
Well, at this point, it's not really a problem because it's not deep water. It doesn't do very much damage, and as long as your feet don't fall to 0, because every body part, even human basic feet, have got 79 hit points. So draining 2 every 5 seconds, it's going to take a while to destroy even human feet. So it doesn't really make a lot of difference at this point. And human feet are pretty easy. They're pretty cheap to repair. I don't think they cost more than about 16 or something, 16 gold. They cost almost nothing to repair. I mean, at this point, I'm only changing the chests, because the chest is the most important component on the droid. If the chest is destroyed or reaches 0 hit points, the droid just crumples to the floor, and with all your items, and the droid's destroyed, and you have to buy a new chest. You can never repair chests. Not yourself. You have to find a shop to repair a chest. But the limbs, your head, hands, and whatever, they can all be repaired by you. Obviously, depending on which piece you lose, depends on which part of the droid becomes non-functional. If you lose the head of the leader, you can't see.
Yeah.
If you lose your hand or your arm, you can't use that hand or arm, so you can't fire your weapons. If you lose your leg, one leg or one foot, your droid moves slower. If you lose both legs, you move really slowly.
And so what you want to do is then make sure you keep an eye on it with your management, and then if the chest's getting low, find a plug socket and charge it up.
Yeah. It's the same as the power. Don't ever let your power fall to 0, because if your power falls to 0, the droid goes inoperative, and one shot can kill it, because it can't defend itself. So keep an eye on your power. As you can see, 2 of my droids are very low on power.
Yeah.
I do tend to run things to the wire a lot of the time. Simply to save time. But yeah, you notice that part there was flashing, indicating it was badly damaged.
Yeah.
I mean, you can upgrade the armor as you go along, buy all the best stuff if you want, but each new droid part uses more power. So if you've got like a Cop-8 chest and a human basic arm, it uses almost no power at all. So your power, you don't need to bother with it as much. As the game goes on, you will need better components, because the enemy hit harder and harder. At the moment, the enemies haven't got better than automatics. But later on, the enemies start getting, cannons and spray guns, which hurt like the blazes.
Yeah, I suppose you're going up against an enemy with a flamethrower. You're going to want the best armour available.
Yeah, the enemies later on. I know when I first got to the second mission, when I first come across like the Gaul enemies and the water pods, I used to call them blood money blobs, because that's what they look like. From the second level of blood money. And yeah, it was a case of I was wiped out in 3 seconds, because the enemies were so powerful and I literally was just not ready for it. But at this point, the enemies are still fairly slow, but later on, the enemies move like lightning. Yeah, you blink and you're dead. That's how bad it is. It looks like I'm upgrading me hunters again here, giving everyone hunters. Get rid of those rifles. Probably wondering why I reloaded those before I sold them. You don't get any additional money. That was just to empty the useless ammo out of the backpack.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's no good anymore. And you can't sell ammo, and it's annoying dropping it on the floor, so just simply quickly reload the weapons and sell them. The enemies cannot open the doors. No enemies in the game. Enemies can shoot the razor walls open. They can shoot the force field doors open, but they cannot open button-operated doors or lifts. You notice I'm raising the robotic levels as well, because in order to use the better armor, you need more robotic levels. You only need 1 level to use human basic armor. You need 1 level to use 2 levels to use Tindran, but up to Tindran Super. But from that point onwards, you need 1 additional level for each level of the next armor. So to use Cop-8 Super, you need 10, because you need the 2 for Tindran plus 8 Cop-8 levels. And then to use Bronzite, you need 18, and then you need 26 for Ironide, and so on and so on and so on. In order to use the best armor in the game, which is Titaniux, you need 66 levels. And believe me, that's about 3 million experience points. It takes me around about 8 missions to get that far. You can sit around and grind if you want.
I think at the moment, if this was me playing, I'd be concerned about the power of all the droids apart from the green one at the moment, I think.
Well, as long as you're not moving, you're not using any power other than just looking. You know, because, well, if you're not moving, you're not using your weapons, the power don't go down. It's just the droid that's looking, the yellow one. That will be slowly going down. But yeah, I'll get around to charging it up. You know, eventually. I actually buy a battery too. Now batteries, well, it's obvious what a battery is. You charge your battery up, press it on your chest, it charges the droid up. So it's a good way of carrying some spare power around with you. Also, you don't run the risk of accidentally destroying a part on the socket you don't want to, because touching a battery on things does not destroy it, it just switches it with it. So the batteries are very convenient.
Yeah, I'll say so. Especially seeing as pretty much all your droids are out of power. Now they're almost all full up again.
Yeah, I mean, each additional piece of armor requires more and more and more power. At the moment, you can charge a Cop Hater up with like pretty much one click of a battery 2. But when you get to, say, Ironhide, battery 2 is about 20%. You know, by the time you get to Taniux, you know, you essentially need a battery super. You need the best battery in the game. Otherwise, you're going to be there forever trying to charge it up. So everything is proportionate. You need better and better stuff. You notice I'm carrying a couple of spare chests as well.
Yeah.
Just in case I do make a mistake and get clonked. I mean, it's very easy to screw up in this game. Accidentally tread on a mine, it blows your droid up. You know, accidentally get shot, trapped under a bloody door. You know, step in the water. If you've got a spare chest, you can quickly get your droid back up and continue to fight, as it were. Because this is one of these games, just like, in many ways, it's worse than Dungeon Master. I mean, Dungeon Master, the enemies attack fairly slowly for the most part, with the exception of, say, the wasps, I suppose. They did attack fairly quickly. But in this, yes, you can die incredibly quickly if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, also in Dungeon Master, you didn't have to leg it from the base at the end before it blew up.
Yeah. The explosion doesn't chase you quickly, even if you didn't have the greaser active like I've got there. You can outrun the explosion. You know, there's a Diplodocus there I walked past. There's another one there. You can kill them if you want. They give you a bit of money. They never venture out of the water, those enemies. So you can safely ignore them. If you stand next to them, they will bite you, but they don't do very much damage. Right, over to the next level, Sod Pier. Right, this level, you start to get the big machinery now.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting seeing all these new bits and pieces turn up.
Yeah, Crowther, well, you said at the beginning, I consider it his magnum opus. I mean, I've known about Crowther for same as you, since the days of the 64. But I was never really that impressed with his games, to be honest. I don't think I seriously played many of them on the 64 at all. I think the first game of his I played seriously was Bomboozle, which he programmed with, I can't remember his name, it was something Bishop, wasn't it?
Oh, I can't remember, mate.
Yeah, it was a joint project. But yeah, I played Bomboozle literally to level 101 on the ST. I completed all of them. So that was the first game of Crowther's I played seriously. I mean, I know you've played Blagger and Kilowatt and all of those.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of Tony's early games featured a musician who's, you know, quite close to my heart musically speaking, which is Ben Daglish. Yeah. You know, they had the Wii Music project and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I do still tend to load a lot of Tony Crowther games up, if not to play, to, you know, listen to the music that that Ben put together and that. So yeah, I've probably looked at a few more of them than you have, but none of them compare in scope to this whatsoever. I mean, I know this is a generation of computers newer, but I mean, the scope of this game is just something else. I mean, this makes, for me, watching you play this makes like Dungeon Master seem like a a kind of demo of what could be achieved, and this is the realisation of that.
Yeah, it's true. I'm surprised you didn't mention Monty on the Run there. Although technically that's Pete Harrop, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Crowther was involved, I think. But yeah, I tend to think of Wanted Monty more when I think of Tony Crowther. And my brother played it, and personally I hated the game. I thought the Spectrum version was better. I'm not sure what he was trying to achieve with the 64 version of that. I mean, it's the same as William Wobbler. I mean, Zap said it best, didn't they? Not one of Crowther's best.
Nice big animated sprite, though.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it was Bomboozle. That was the first game of Crowther's I played a lot religiously. It's a good game. It's a good little puzzle game. But yeah, when I saw this, it was like, yeah, this is a class above the rest, isn't it? And its sequel, I suppose you could say, Nightmare. All right, it's loosely based on the show Nightmare, but it is still a very good game because it uses the same captive mechanics. It's a lot harder, I'll tell you that. It's much harder than Captive.
Well, perhaps we'll cover that one day, but if we, just in case we don't, if anyone goes to SasaMisa18, so if I can say your name properly, it's SasaMisa1806's YouTube channel. There is a Nightmare playthrough on there.
Yeah, that was another one of me exploiting the hell out of the game engine as well. Exploiting the placement of certain keys. I actually had someone accuse me of cheating in that. So it was funny. I thought, well, I do exploit the game engine a bit, but I can't say I cheated.
Well, if you're exploiting the game engine, I mean, if it's in the game and you're not putting in a code or putting in pokes or using a trainer crack or something like that, then it's not cheating. It's in the game.
It's true. But yeah, this level, you notice we're getting a lot of big machines now. You know, things that shoot automatics at you and crap like that. And they will hurt like the blazes if you haven't got your shields up. Some of them will like blast a body part off you. If they hit you square in the chest, it will probably kill your droid. So keep those shields up. I mean, I have seen people play this game literally with no shields at all. I saw a guy do like the first station, and it took him, I think it took him about 5 hours to do the station, and I do the whole mission in 2.5. But it's because he was playing so carefully, you know, trying not to use shields. And I thought, you don't need to play like that. That's what the shields are there for, you know, to protect your droids. I mean, it's actually a very novel idea, the idea of lessening the damage, you know, by giving yourself a little bit more protection. You've got kind of 2 layers of protection. You've got your armor, and you've got shields, and you've got deflectors as well, which you get later in the game. They're very expensive, and they don't last very long, but they will literally give you 100% protection for a limited time. You can buy mines yourself, by the way, but they're a bit expensive, so I don't use them. They are pretty devastating, though. They will blow an enemy away with one shot.
Yeah, we do like the one-shot kill things.
Well, the reason I'm sticking with rifles in this particular playthrough is so I don't have to grind, because in order to get the more expensive weapons, you need a lot of money. But the rifles are incredibly cheap. And they'll cut through the low encounters. Oh, we've got this guy here with his first guy with a spray gun. Shoot that one in the back. But yeah, he shoots out a cloud of acid, which really hurts all your droids, as you saw. I've flashed up for everybody now. If you ain't got shields up, that can kill your whole party. But luckily, he's a stationary enemy. He cannot move. So just get around the back of him. Or get him to shoot, get another one to shoot him. Because the enemies don't care who's in the way. They will happily shoot each other.
That's that classic AI, isn't
it? Yeah, the AI is incredibly, it's aggressive as hell. You know, it don't care what's in the way, it will shoot at you if you're in line with it. So that's why I try to keep on the move. Nice thing about the hunters as well is they do have a large ammo supply. I dodged that one. You get 40 shots, I think, for a full clip. You notice occasionally you get like a red bar on the guns. That indicates the gun's jammed. See, like everyone took 50 damage there. Yellow
hell.
has actually lost more than half of the chest. You notice I've lost an hand. Look.
Oh,
one of my arms got blown off. Yeah, they sting. They do. Those bloody guys with their bloody guys with their acid disperser gun. And I mean, they're the weakest of the spray gun enemies, and already they're capable of like doing some serious damage. And that was through 2 shields. So you can imagine what would have happened with no shields.
Well, yeah, you'd be reloading the game and starting again, wouldn't you?
There I've overloaded myself there because, well, too heavy, too much junk on him. Yeah, I lost an arm, got blown off. I don't know. Yeah, I suppose at this point we should mention Captive 2. Oh, I can't hold Crowther totally responsible for that, you know, because I went out and bought the original. Me and James, I think, you know, we both played it the same day. And I have never been so disappointed in a sequel. Well, not until The Last of Us Part 2. And I know that's controversial. Some people love the sequel, but for me, it was too much of a right turn in style. But it was the same with Captive 2. It was like, this isn't Captive. You know, this is an adventure game that just happens to have some captive elements. And yeah, I barely played it for a couple of hours. I think I've watched a Swedish guy, I think he's Swedish, do the first mission, and even he admitted that the game is not that good. But Crowther worked on a team with that one. He was not the sole programmer. And I think the truth is Mindscape probably wanted a different type of game. And I think his vision just got lost in the mire.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever even seen Captive 2. I seem to remember years and years and years ago you telling me about the disappointment of it, and I never bothered looking at it after that.
I mean, for a start, they decided to go with polygons, which was a horrible mistake because the polygons are such low count in it. Even if you had like a pretty fast Amiga at the time, you know, like an A1200, you know, with a faster processor and all that, it ran like crap, and it just didn't play very well. The whole thing just felt like you had to find all these key cards and open all these doors, and it was almost like half the game was spent finding key cards, and I just got fed up with it. But it was the polygons, you know, the actual droids you're fighting in it, they were really, really low polygon count, and compared to this, where the graphics are really nice, even now, all the machines look really good, all the enemies look really good, because pixel art never ages.
No, it's true, it don't.
But polygons, when you look at a model that's got a bad polygon count, it's like, this looks terrible.
Yeah, you've only got to look at even something as recent as the first PlayStation. On an emulator with it smoothed out, it looks fine. I've still got a PlayStation, an original one, and playing that on an LCD screen, god dear, it is so blocky. It looks fucking awful, really. You know, I still like a few of the games on it, but it hasn't aged well. Whereas, like you say, stuff like pixel art is timeless. It's so timeless that people are making games now with fake pixel art, you know, so it looks like it's an old game.
That's true. I must admit, my estimation of Crowther dropped quite considerably when I saw Captive 2. And it wasn't till recently, when I finally saw Captain Planet on the Amiga, that he kind of redeemed himself in my eyes, because he did a really good job with that. I mean, I was expecting it to be terrible because the cartoon is the cartoon's preachy as hell. He had his good episodes, but I wasn't expecting a good game, put it this way. And then when I actually sat down and watched it, I thought, considering he did this in 3 months, this is a damn good game. It was as good as Potsworth & Co. on the 64, which I like as well. You know, he created 5 different level scenarios for each of the 5 characters, and it was a good attempt. It's a playable game. I'm forced to admit that.
Yeah,
well, Captive 2, the less said.
Well, I mean, I'll probably send a link to this to Tony anyway. I don't know if he'll watch it if he's got the time, but it'd be interesting to hear his thoughts on Captive 2 or something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't say exactly what I've always suspected, that he was part of a team. He didn't have total creative control over it. Yeah, it was a fairly large team. I mean, it's not exactly like Zun with Tower Project, is it? It's a team of one.
Yeah.
He's got 100% creative control of. That's why he won't license it. I mean, although Tower games have now appeared on the consoles, he's very reticent to hand it over to, say, Sony, because he knows what they'll do to it. He'll lose creative control of it, and then they will start changing it.
Yeah, that really doesn't need changing at all.
No, that's true.
I mean, like I said in the video I did recently, that I had Embodiment of Scarlet Devil in. Although there has been, for me personally, a couple of stinkers in that series. I mean, I do not like the photograph games at all. I know I'm not really good at the games, but
double spoiler.
Yeah, I wasn't over keen on that mechanic at all. Yeah, he's kind of held true to himself all the way through.
Christ, how many attempts did it take me to do Lumia in that? It was about 57 attempts, wasn't it, to do our first spell card? I mean,
something like that.
I'm not a fan of shoot the bullet or double spoiler. Right,
anyway, returning to Captive, massive tank.
I used to call him Big Guns. That's not his name. He's actually got a proper designation, but I used to just give them all stupid names based on what I saw, you know. It doesn't look like Big Guns. You notice he's clearly reused bits and pieces of graphics, any of the guns off of the earlier flying tank he's put on that one.
That's good, because that gives it a sense of sort of parity with everything, like, you know, in Star Trek, you know, in the Next Generation era, the three series, Next Generation, DS9 and Voyager, they all had that look about them, so you knew they were part of the same universe. So reusing graphics like that is a good idea, because it looks like these machines were made at the same place.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, this particular level I'm on now, James couldn't get past this one. This was where he pretty much gave up. He just couldn't keep up with the pace of the game. I mean, the guy today, in his reply comment, he said, like, oh, this game is like, I like the pacing. You know, modern games could learn a thing or two. And I thought, well, it's because you're kind of used to dungeon crawlers. But if someone played this game out of the blue, they would probably get mullered on the third base. Because it is pretty tough. But it's true, nowadays games are designed pretty much to be completed by anybody, unless it's the Dark Souls games, of course. I mean, the programmers of that pretty much refuse to tone the difficulty down. As far as they're concerned, it's a hard game, and if you can't play something else, you know, this game is meant to be difficult.
I was going to say, just out of interest, when you're flicking them switches about, I'm assuming to turn the fire off and stuff like that, how do you know which way to flick them?
Yeah, I don't. I just randomly click them until I hear it click.
Right, okay, no, that's fair enough.
The three-way ones, you've only got 9 combinations, haven't you? So you're going to get it right sooner or later. Yeah, go over the top of that mine. Let me get a spare gun there. But yeah, don't forget that mine's there. But yeah, the three-way switches aren't too difficult to guess, because obviously 3 threes is 9, isn't it? You've got a maximum of 9 combinations. But if you just keep clicking it, sooner or later you're going to hear it click, and that's it. Puzzle solved. But from this level onwards, you start getting 8-way codes.
Oh yeah,
which is
that makes a difference.
256 combinations. Yeah, you've got to really find the clipboard, which tells you the code. You notice I picked one of them up at the start, clipboard.
Yeah.
Which tells you the code. Later on, you get 16-way codes, which have got 4,096 combinations. You can never guess them. the 8-way codes, you can have a go at guessing. 256 combinations ain't that many. And to be honest, it's not 256 anyway, because it tends to be certain patterns.
Yeah.
And I've kind of memorized them from playing it so many times. Everything is steadily getting more difficult.
Yeah. Before we move on to that, you're saying because you've played it so many times. Now, you estimate that you've sunk 10,000 hours into this game. That's a lot of hours.
Yeah, it's true. I'd say Dungeon Master's probably second. I've probably sunk probably about the same into that, or near that. But then again, I've sunk like about 5,000 hours into Diablo 2, although I don't intend to go back to that. This I would probably play again because it's just so much damn fun. Dungeon Master I did play recently. You know, kind of reliving the experience after 20 years. But yeah, 10,000 hours. I think most of that I put in 2010. I was playing it 12 to 16 hours a day for an entire year. And I think I lost £100 while I was doing it. It actually says it in my description on my channel. I'm not joking. I literally lost £100 in weight. From not eating, not sleeping, literally playing captive every day for a year.
I think the only time you weren't playing it was because we used to live miles apart. Was when I used to phone you up, wasn't it? That was about it. And then I used to have to email you to book a time.
Yeah, I think I destroyed 2 keyboards and I wore a mouse out. I had I think I had a G50, G45. I can't remember. Gaming keyboard, a Logitech one. I broke the keypad. I wore the 8 key out. Literally, it stopped pressing. It just got stuck. And then I remapped it in WinUAE to use the 5 key, and I broke that as well. And I wore a mouse out as well. Yeah, so much for the gaming keyboard. I paid like 50 quid for this fancy gaming keyboard, and I broke it in 3 months.
Yeah, it wasn't designed with captive in mind, that one, was it?
I don't think it was. But you think every time you're moving forward, that's one click of the key. You know, keys are generally not designed to be clicked continuously. They're designed to be held down. That's what key repeats for. But yeah, the mouse, I mean, well, Diablo 2 burnt up enough of them. All that blasted clicking. I think Dungeon Master, I broke 2 ST mice. I remember getting one off of James's mate Alex. He sold me one, I think. He had a spare, so he sold me one for a £5, I think it was. And I broke that one as well. Yeah, this is the trouble with these types of games. It's a constant mouse clicking, mouse button clicking. It's going to wear them out.
Yeah, I don't suppose the manufacturers of these pieces of hardware had captive in mind and the way you play it when they designed them. It does go to show, though, that the newer gaming keyboards, that have been made within the last sort of 15 to 20 years or whatever, are they're mostly shit, aren't they? Really, they're not designed for the abuse that someone that plays games like this can give them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best keyboard I ever had was like a compact keyboard I bought for £2 at a computer show. It was indestructible. It was typical of all of Compact's earlier hardware. It was chunky, it was heavy, but it was a damn good keyboard. I used to play Duke, Shadow Warrior. I think once I got really stressed. I can't remember if it was Duke or Shadow Warrior, and chucked the keyboard across the room, and it didn't do a damn thing to it.
Well, that's something I've never done. I think I've thrown down a PlayStation controller in disgust before. I don't think I've ever lost anything across the room.
Yeah, I don't think I'm quite as bad as old Anthony, though. Not Anthony Crowther, the guy that plays The Last of Us. Sometimes when he's watching his playthroughs, because he does speed runs of The Last of Us, and sometimes he'll die and he will literally just chuck things at the wall, and there's big divots out of his wall. I think he started putting tennis balls on his table, just so he'd have something to throw that wouldn't damage the wall. I thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, originally he was chucking his controllers. He broke so many controllers just from getting upset at the game. I've been there and done it.
Yeah, I've never got that upset at a game. I mean, I used to have a mate that used to get the ump watching football and stuff like that when he used to get right into sports, and he had a like a foam brick that he used to lob at his telly when it gave him the ump.
Yeah. You notice here I'm upgrading the limbs now to Cop 8 because, well, Ironhide's just not doing the job now. So I've gone for Ironhide chests. Ironhide, I think it's got 5 times as many hit points as you start with, so good upgrade there. I think it's got a lot more, its resistance is a lot higher as well, but I'm going for like slightly tougher limbs now as well.
They are really starting to look like C-3PO now, aren't they?
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Cop 8, it looks just like that.
Well, it has. It's even got the like the wiring bit in the stomach and that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Silvosh armor you get later on is basically, it looks like white Darth Vader. Yeah, you can see where he got his inspiration from. Oh, it's not unlike Elite, is it? I mean, Elite, all the ships came from all the sci-fi shows we used to watch. Yeah, people basically, they write what they know, they draw what they know. You can see where they get their inspiration from. I sell all these old parts here. You don't get very much for them, but could just chuck them all on the floor if you wanted to, but it's probably quicker just to chuck it on there and sell the lot. That's all right. We've got slightly better armor now, and we got slightly better limbs. Because the enemies now, those big guns, tanks, they will do real damage at close range. Again, enough to like blow even Ironhide away pretty quickly without shields. It's getting to the point of the game now where you pretty much can't survive without shields. If you get trapped, you will die incredibly quickly. And even if you don't, it's going to cost you a lot of money in repairs.
Yeah, and really, you want your money for upgrades and ammo, don't you, rather than repairs?
Yeah. I mean, I'm obviously scrimping out on the weapons a bit here by sticking with hunters, but any remaining money, yeah, is going to go on ammo. This level's actually very short. I can do this level in about a minute, because when you first come in the base, you've got 3 floors, and the generators are literally on the top floor above where you start at the beginning of the base. So you can finish this one incredibly quickly.
So what's that new screen you've got up there? Looks like a game of kicks.
Radar.
That's the radar, right? Okay.
Yeah, the 4 buttons you see indicate left, right, forward, back. At the moment, it's on forward. But yeah, it's scanning in front of you. As you can see, there's nothing. You mean clacks, don't you?
Yeah, clack. Although kicks is the one that comes towards you, isn't it?
But yeah, that's the radar. That will eliminate your tunnel vision now. Very useful, the radar. Consumes a lot of power, but very useful. So you see that white dot there? That indicates there's an enemy.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's nowhere near me, so we won't worry about that. Out the base. I'm pretty sure I just run across the water here, don't I? Maybe not. You've got to get out the entrance anyway very quickly, because if you don't, the base starts blowing up, and well, I can't shoot them because they're too short. You know, the base starts blowing up. I did run across the water earlier. You don't die instantly if you walk in the water. It starts draining your health really quickly. It will take about 10 seconds to kill you. So,
I suppose that's time to manoeuvre then.
Yeah, time to manoeuvre. Foof it or poof it or whatever you want to call it. I think you get the second of the brothers here, who's got a laser. He does a lot of damage because lasers have got very high penetration. You know, even against good armor. I mean, later in the game, they are actually a nuisance to laser guys. Yeah, sometimes enemies start right next to you there. It's kind of funny.
It didn't take much to finish him off, though, did it?
Yeah, the enemies outside are generally fairly weak. You know, even on the later bases, they don't go above a certain strength, which is different from the enemies inside the bases. I mean, we're getting the really powerful encounters now.
Flying guns.
Yeah, you had those on Sodpia. They make a reappearance here. The game kind of cycles between the enemies. You won't get every enemy every base. You know, you'll get a selection of enemies, but it is the same selection. These big guns there. They're actually pretty strong, they are. Take a few shots to take down.
The good thing is all the enemies are nicely drawn.
They are. Yeah, he did all the artwork himself. I mean, he's clearly a talented programmer. I know he's not much of a games player. I remember when they did the Zap Challenge. Yeah, they brought in all the programmers, Crowther, Andrew Braybrook, Jeff Minter. And Crowther, I think, was the worst. He wasn't much of a games player. He did admit as such, though. I mean, Minter naturally won. Yeah, because he is a games player as well as a programmer. I think Braybrook came second. I can't remember who the other guys were. Might have been Archer McLean and the guy that programmed Ghosts and Goblins.
Oh, God, I do know as well. I can't think of it offhand. Yeah, talking of Zap, there's a quite a big piece in that with Tony Crowther. If anyone wants to head on over to Retro Fusion Books and have a buy of it, and I'm allowed to be biased because I've got an article in there, but yeah, I'm not affiliated with them at all. But Chris Wilkins and the team there, they done put out some really good stuff in the books that they do, and yeah, say Tony's in the latest one, so it's definitely worth a look at.
Yeah, I had a look at the version you showed me. Had a flick through it. It does certainly have the style of the original Zap 64.
Yeah, and now Retro Fusion own the rights to it. They'll be they're doing the mini ones. They're doing Zap and Crash, and they've been doing Zap and Crash albums and not albums, annuals. And you know, there's a potential if there's enough people want it for the Amstrad user base of Amtix as well. I don't know if Chris has bought the rights to that, but you know, there's all this stuff. You know, you look at the latest Zap annual. There's like something like 60 games in it. I mean, that's 60 games that have been released over like the last year or so, because obviously this is the third one, and the two previous ones had games in it. So, you know, the 8-bit systems aren't dead. They're still alive and kicking.
I mean, to be honest, I've kind of tuned out to what you'd consider AAA gaming. I haven't been into it for 20 years. I went totally indie.
Well, yeah, I mean, apart from Elite Dangerous, pretty much all the stuff I've got is indie titles and that now, especially on Steam. You know, I don't really care about Call of FIFA and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I've played a few games on Steam. I know you recommended Vaporum, which was a steampunk version of Grimrock, essentially. It wasn't a bad game. I suppose I've played the re-releases of Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 2. Icewind Dale. There's the guy with a laser. He does sting a bit, he does, so you don't want to hang around with him.
No, well, he made short work of him, really, though.
Yeah, he's a little bit tougher than this standard cowboy guy. I can't remember what their names are. I think it's I know Death and Gaul are the two powerful ones. I can't remember the other two. But yeah, I've played a few Steam games. I play mostly emulator stuff. Obviously, Toho games. Christ, I played a lot of Toho stuff. You know, not just to shoot 'em ups either. A lot of the spin-offs.
Yeah, I mean, I use a lot of emulators, as you know. I mean, all right, I've got a real C64C stat in front of me, but that's only really because I still don't think they've quite managed to emulate the SID chip close enough for my liking. It's close, but you know, I do like the real thing for that. But yeah, other than that, all my other 8-bit computers and Amigas and stuff like that are all in storage because I think the emulators do a good enough job for what I want to do with them.
Yeah, I can't say I've got any complaints. I mean, any issues with lag and that. I've been playing games for 40 years, and to be honest, it don't bother me. I mean, if you're making an issue about 1/10 of a second in a game, I mean, I'm sorry, but unless you're playing at Evo at an absolutely professional level, you know, something like pick any Street Fighter 2 game, then really you shouldn't be worrying about stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't worry about it. I don't really notice it. I think it depends how good your screen is. You've got a pretty good screen, you're all right. And well, you have and I have, so
yeah, that's it. It is largely down to your equipment. I mean, I don't play at a professional level anymore. Christ, I was only in one competition, which I would rather forget about. God, don't ever ask me to do a long play of Road Blasters on the 64. That's all I can say.
I'll just scratch that off the list then.
I mean, I don't mind the arcade version. The arcade version of that game was great. But yeah, the 64 version, it could have been a lot better than it was. And they made us play it twice. I tell you, you've never seen someone so nonchalant when they lose. It was like, I was like Ninon in a Maximum Impact 2 when she loses. She's like, nah, what do I care? That was pretty much how I felt. I just didn't care.
You came second, didn't you? Or was it fourth or something?
I think I came fifth overall, but yeah, that was only money because I didn't practice. I mean, as James said, yeah, you practiced on the last day. I bet everybody else was practicing since day one. I mean, I came second in the first round, and I'd never even seen the game before. So it pretty much tells you how awful the competition was. I got beat by a 10-year-old kid, I think. But, I mean, they'd all had access to the review. They'd had access to the game. And me, I'd never even seen Gianna Sisters before. And I went on it, had 10 minutes practice, and came second. And it was pretty much the same in the second round as well. In the second round, I didn't practice hardly at all. And I came second again. Personally, I was hoping I'd lost. And he went, no, you come second. I thought, oh, no. But when they phoned up, you know, for the final, I said, what game are we playing in the final? I said, we're playing Gianna Sisters again. It's like, oh, no, Road Blasters, because Gianna Sisters has been banned. I thought, what? And it had been banned. I remember taking the ST version back because my disc broke. I got it wet on the bike in the rain. And it damaged the disc. And I took it back and they said, we can't give you another one. The game's been banned. He said, we've got one copy of the 64 version left. And I bought that instead. But yeah, I ended up playing Road Blasters in the final and it was like, didn't even practice. I just didn't care by that point. Plus, I found out that the prize was £1,000 worth of US gold software, and I thought, "Oh my god, no!"
Yeah, after 1984, 85, yeah, US gold was best forgotten, wasn't it? Really, once they'd run out of Epic's titles.
Well, I did ask him. I said, "Can I have £1,000 worth of like ST hardware or ST soft?" No, it's got to be £1,000 worth of. So. I know the following year there wasn't a competition. You know, US Gold made such a bog of it. You know, I mean, the second round in Victoria Station, I think it was, that was terrible. They couldn't get the power on, and it was completely dumb. You know, and the next year there weren't one. I think the following year I was on the first year of the apprenticeship, and I remember going in a Virgin Mega store they had up Bromley, and they had a machine set up in the back. And they said, oh, there's a competition, you know, you have to either, I can't remember what the three games were. I think you had to play either Sonic for 10 minutes, Mario for 10 minutes, or Lemmings for 10 minutes. I think they were the three games. And basically you had to be under 18. I mean, I was 20 by that point. So that was the end of that. But yeah, I mean, nowadays you can make a ton of money out of competitions. Oh, there's a Def there. I used to call him Dean. Because he did kind of remind me of him.
Hello.
No.
Why have you got red scan lines on?
That's basically the visor. Allows you to see in the dark.
Right.
Some areas are dark now. No disrespect to Dean, he did introduce me to Dungeon Master. Yeah, as well as a lot of other ST stuff. And he did like the 64. I mean, he gave you your 64, didn't he?
Well, I bought it for you, sold me it, yeah. Yeah, what an influential old character he was, eh? And he's still going strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he watches my videos. I know I've sent him a link to the one when I was talking about the 64, but he's not long found out he's going to become a dad, so congratulations to him.
Yeah, he's in Finland, you said, didn't you?
Yeah.
Last time I saw him, mid-90s, he came and stayed. He came down to Thamesmead, stayed over for a night. I think that was back when I was still playing the 64. Yeah, I think that was, it must have been mid-90s, 95, 96. I think that was the last time I saw him. I think I saw him down Waltham Cross once as well. That was shortly after, I think that was late 80s. I remember seeing him in W.H. Smith one day, I think it was. Telling him about the fact that I'd pretty much wrecked Dungeon Master. Because we only ever finished it round his house, but me being me, I carried on playing it and found out every single thing possible to find out about it.
Yeah. If we ever do Dungeon Master on this series of videos, that's going to be one where
you said you wanted to do that with Lucosa, though, didn't you?
I think Lucosa, if he does do it, he's going to do something else. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean Dungeon Master. Played it recently. Played Grimrock, the Dungeon Master mod in Grimrock, and played Dungeon Master Java, which I didn't record any playthroughs of Dungeon Master Java. I probably should have done. I did finally get it working in the end. It's a bit touchy, that is. It needs a very specific version of Java to work. Right now we start getting the big stuff. I mean, this is Ed 209. If he shoots you with those guns of his, he will kill 2 of your droids for sure. Your shields or no shields, he does incredible damage. He's probably got the toughest armor in the game as well. So he really does take a lot of shots to take down. Even if he's got cannons, he will still take a while to go over. He's slow, though.
Yeah, I can see that from the amount of times you've shot him compared to how many times you've shot other things.
Yeah, he's very tough. One of the toughest enemies. His only real weakness is he can be immobilized in water, but that doesn't stop him turning on the spot, so he can still point towards you and shoot you. He just can't move in water. But yeah, we're getting the really nasty stuff. Now, this is Budod, the 10th base. Oh, there's Def again.
Yeah, they're starting to kind of come in at you from all angles now, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, this particular base has got one of the nastiest encounters in the game, the bug enemy. You're only going to see one in this particular playthrough, but it's an enemy that can kill you in 3 seconds if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, he's basically got a flamethrower and a twin laser combination weapon, and he will destroy you in seconds if he gets a chance, especially if you meet a speed 8 version of him.
Yeah, definitely one to avoid.
And because he's got combination weapons, he's got both a flamethrower and twin lasers, you can't permanently shield against him, because fire is treated differently in this game from physical damage. The shields will protect you from physical damage. The fire shield will protect you from fire. Neither shield will protect you from both. Only the deflector can do that. And the deflector, I'm not sure if I've bought one at this point. They are very expensive. They cost 7,900, and they only give you 20 seconds of protection.
If you're in a pinch, 20 seconds is better than fuck all, as we say.
They're good for disabling the mines as well, because you're invincible while you've got the deflector. You can literally walk over anything. They will not protect you from water or fire, though. As in, you can't walk over water or fire. You also notice you can't anti-grav over the top of the fire. That seems almost like an oversight, that. You think, why can't you use the anti-gravity to go over the top of the fire? I don't know, maybe it burns their head or something.
Well, yeah, it might do. I mean, heat rises, doesn't it? So right above the flames is probably the hottest part.
You can anti-grav over water, though, but not outside. The anti-grav device will not work outside the bases.
Well, there's no ceiling, is there?
That's it. Yeah, like you said, Crowther really did put a lot of features in this game. He put a lot of thought into it. I think his brother also helped him out with it. It does say at the beginning, don't it? It helped him out with the playtesting.
It's such a polished game.
It is. It's not perfect by any means. I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect game, but you know, let's say the good points way outweigh the bad points, and any bugs it has got, and it has got bugs. Nothing particularly game breaking, but there are a few little glitches here and there. But yeah, overall, it is my favourite game. Yeah, over everything else.
When you consider how many games you've played, that is, quite a statement.
It's true. I mean, if you go to Dungeon Master, they had 209 decided to walk down there for some reason. Yeah, the enemies can lose sight of you because the enemies have got radar as well. Some enemies are very aggressive. They spot you and they will come right after you. But some enemies kind of lose interest if you walk away. And they will start wandering around, just going back to their patrol pan. Yeah, more in 209s.
Have we got any idea what the 6 kanji on the left say?
They're not kanji.
Oh, right, okay.
That's just the settings, essentially. I think he meant them to look like kanji, but I can tell you now they're no kanji I recognise. And I know about 3,500 of them now.
Yeah, well, I just thought I'd mention that. I meant to ask earlier on and I forgot and I just remembered. So, yeah, all right. So
yeah, that's the settings. Basically, you can change the mouse speed and 50, 60 hertz. The mouse speed one's quite handy if you haven't got you haven't got a fancy mouse with well, back in the days of the Amiga, you didn't have a fancy mouse, did you?
Well, you had that tank with a roller in it.
Yeah, so essentially having something where you could alter the mouse speed was kind of handy. The Amiga mouse was a bit better than the ST one, but
it was better in the hand than the ST one, yeah. But I mean, the internal mechanics were pretty much identical.
Yeah, the buttons tended to wear out a bit too bloody quickly.
Yeah, fortunately though, people like us, we used to have soldering irons and the ability to put new buttons on, didn't we? If we really didn't, take one off of an old broken one and replace one. I mean, I've done that so many times with mice over the years rather than buy a new one.
Yeah, I mean, the ST one, I used to open it up and open the contact and rebend it so the contact would last a bit longer. I mean, it was pretty much the same as the Atari joysticks because they used quite simple metal contacts. You could open them up, peel the plastic back, bend the little round. So so I've got the deflector on. So he's bouncing the shot straight back at that buck enemy, and he effectively blew himself up.
You saying that about the Atari joysticks? I've got I know it's not a popular one, the 7800 joystick, but I had one of them that was really crap and you couldn't fit any clicks with the contacts. I had a look on eBay. There's people selling bags of the old contacts and basically new bit of tape, new contact. It's like a brand new stick. It's like it's 1985 again.
Yeah, it's like the quick shots. I mean, I remember Keith. We opened up a quick shot one that Chris Damianos, guy I suppose I have to thank for all the 64 games he gave me. In fact, his 64 was the first 64 I ever played. I doubt he'll ever watch this video. I doubt he even remembers who I am. But yeah, I mean, his was the first 64 I ever played. And he had a bunch of quick shots, quick shot ones and quick shot twos. And they were all, your usual, all rattling around, bits of metal all shaking around. And we opened them up and contacts had snapped off. And Keith literally just got a piece of beer can, shaped it like the Contact, and screwed it up, drilled an hole in it, and that's it. You got yourself a new Contact. Beer can. Yeah, the quick shots they were really terrible joysticks.
Yeah, they weren't very good.
I know you play decathlon with them. That's it. It's destroyed. It just ends up as a bit of twisted plastic.
Yeah, we like you say, loads of rattling metal bits in it.
Yeah, where they've snapped off. But yeah, you get a new lease on life if you do these things. I open them up and solder bits here and there and bend contacts, and you can get the things going.
Well, I've always done stuff like that. I mean, you only got to look at my 64 collection. I get my mate Ad to do anything that's beyond my capability because I haven't got logic probes and oscilloscopes and stuff like that. And then, I clean them up and people say, retro brighting only lasts a couple of years. Well, if it only lasts a couple of years, I'll do it again. It's only surface stuff. It's not going to make them horribly brittle. I might even do a video of a restoration soon. But yeah, you get this stuff, and rather than chuck it in the bin, you just, give, like you say, give it a new lease of life.
Yeah. I think James has done something similar recently with a bunch of joysticks, a bunch of quick shots again. Not quick shots, competition pros, isn't it? I think he's got the red transparent ones and the blue transparent ones, and he's been cannibalizing various bits, trying to get a good one out of it.
Yeah, why not?
Right, what we're doing here is we're upgrading to a Hunter 7s because I've got the experience now and I've got the money, they're not the best Hunters. I'm one level below Super, but 7s will do a bit of extra damage and they shoot further, and they don't jam less often, though. That's kind of weird, that. The jamming, I think, is 0.4% for any weapon. It doesn't get better if you've got a better grade, which is a bit of a shame, really. I also get chromized armor here, which is about as good as it gets at this point. Bit better than Ironide.
Yeah.
Yeah, load all those weapons up. That's about as good as this mission's going to get. I mean, you do get cannons on this level. You get cannons and lasers. Lasers you do get about halfway through the mission, but you get cannons on this level, but they're protected by 2 bug enemies, and they're incredibly expensive. They're like 10,000 plus. The ammo's very heavy, the ammo's very expensive, and you need a lot of experience to use them. So I don't bother with them at this point. Just stick with the Hunters.
Yeah, see, it's the little things I keep mentioning, like, when you charge the battery up, you get a little display counting up the percentage, so you know how much you've charged it, and, rather than some games, you just click on it and that's it, it's charged, it's just that little extra touch that really makes this game come to life.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a game I would really like to see a sequel to. And I don't mean make it 3D. I don't mean have fancy intros. I don't care about any of that. I mean, people do say, like Captive 2, the CD32 version is better. Yeah, it is. The intro's great. But as soon as you start playing the game, it's basically the same game. Therefore, awful.
Yeah. You're not going to be drawn away from that, are you? You literally hate that game.
Yeah, it's because it isn't Captive. That's the problem, isn't it? When you get a sequel and it's got the same name, or it's got the same name, Turrican 2, say. Now, Turrican 2 is as good as Turrican. They're both excellent games. That's an example of a series where, yeah, great. And it's the same as but it can be the opposite, where the second game is like, why did they call it this? It's clearly not this game. But yeah, I would like to see an update to this. Maybe something along the lines of Grimrock. I know people have tried to mod Grimrock, but Captive, it's not really Dungeon Master, is it? It's got shops, and it's a space age approach to that. It doesn't work in the Grimrock engine. Not even the Grimrock 2 engine. It would need to be completely
there's a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff to try and put in that there just isn't in there.
I mean, for a 16-bit game, this is incredibly complicated. Right, I'm buying a ton of shields here because the next level is the station. Now, I can tell you, when I first got to the station, I lasted about 10 seconds. I just wasn't ready for how difficult it was. Because the stations are, they're just all-round slaughter. You get the distinct impression they don't want you on the stations, as you'll see. But yeah, charge up those Chromizers. Chromizers has got a ton of hit points. It's got about 350 hit points. I think the power, well, you can see the power.
Yeah.
1,560. You compare that to like the rubbishy old human chest that had about 80. So yeah, we've got a significant increase in power. But even a chromized chest won't last very long against what you're coming up against. So you're going to need, well, here I literally use all 4 shields for 1/16 damage. And they still hit like hell.
Definitely need to prepare for this one, don't you?
Yeah. You need a lot of shields and you need a lot of ammo, because if you run out of ammo now, you are dead. It's as simple as that. Because the enemy, you're not going to punch them. Their armor's too heavy. Punching just doesn't do any damage. I mean, you can carry a significant amount of ammo anyway. I mean, each character can carry 20 items, regardless of their shape. Obviously, limitation is your weight. I mean, at the moment, they can carry 130 kilos, and I think the ones at the front are a bit higher than that. What I'm trying to do is kind of, well, keep some money left over so I can buy nothing but ammo. Making sure all those shields are 99%.
Well, you certainly got some space for the ammo there, haven't you?
Yeah, because the first shop on the station is quite a distance from the entranceway. It's not like the second station. The second station, the shop is literally inside the entranceway, right next to it. So not a problem on the second station, but the first station, the shop is about halfway through the base. So you've got a long haul, so you're going to need a lot of ammo. You should always stock up on ammo anyway, just to be safe, because you never know where your first shop is. You also never know if you've gone in the right direction. I mean, sometimes you get 2 directions to go, and the shop is one way, and the generators and the planet probe might be the other way, and you go the wrong way and run out of ammo. Or end up wasting too much of your ammo before you can get back to the shop. That really is your first job when you get in a new base. Secure a shop so you can go back there and stock up.
Yeah.
But this is the last of the bases. Notice it was quite a haul to get to these generators.
Yeah,
What a way
it
to
was.
go. I know I keep running into walls there.
But no, this is the bit that throws me, watching you play this at such speed.
Well, all I'm doing is I'm following the arrow. Look, you see the route finder is telling me where to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not guessing. I am just following the arrow. I'm just doing it quickly. You notice that there, I pushed that roller wall in the way so it blocked the corridor. You should only do that, though, if you're sure you can push it back out of the way. Otherwise, you trap yourself. You notice the radar works outside, though. So you can still see monsters out here. I mean, everything still works outside except for the anti-grav. I mean, you can turn it on, it just don't do anything.
I think my only criticism with the graphics on this game is when it's landed, your spaceship looks very much like Mr. Spoon's spaceship from Button Moon.
It does, don't it? Right, here's the Death Star. But you notice normally there'd be a shield pulsing around that, but you've destroyed all 10 planets, all 10 lots of generators. So now you can get onto this station. If you attempt to land while the shield's up, it just boots you back on your ship and it will not land. Right, I've just activated all 4 shields because right inside the entrance you will get attacked by, well, there's 3 types of enemies on the station. You get these huge guards that fill the corridor, which have all got spray guns and they've all got lasers, and they all drop mines when they die. And you've also got Robocop-looking droids, which have got high-powered lasers. So you need these codes because they'll tell you what switches later on. Right, there's one of the guards. Crowther actually came up with these guards quite late in the design process. They're actually shown on the front of the box. I'm pretty sure the guy that designed the box came up with the robot first, and Crowther liked the look of the robot, so he basically made it for the station encounter. Also, the name Captive was not the original name of the game.
All right, what was it going to be originally then?
I can't remember what it was going to be originally, but it was actually, there was a competition to name the game, and basically, I can't remember the name of the boy that came up with it. It certainly wasn't me. He picked the name Captive. But yeah, these huge robots, you can see the little Titanic droids there.
Yeah, they are a bit Robocop, aren't they?
Yeah, they hurt like hell. They've all got high-powered lasers. And these guys have got spray guns, acid dispersers, as well as lasers. There's 2 types of these battle droids. You've got the slow-moving ones, which drop mines when they die, and they cannot travel over water. And you've got the floaters, which have got much stronger lasers, and they can travel over water. They don't drop mines. You can generally tell which is which because the floaters move fast. No, the walkers move faster. The floaters actually tend to move very slowly.
But they effectively look exactly the same.
Yeah, like that one there was a walker because he dropped a mine. The walkers punch you as well when they get next to you. You know, just to add in a bit of melee damage.
Yeah.
These pretty much become the hardest enemies to kill on the later levels. When you get on to about Station 8, these enemies, even if you've got the strongest weapons in the game, twin cannon and flamethrower, they take about 30 hits to kill. They are incredibly strong.
Bloody hell. Again, another new sort of like graphical look to the station, and really well drawn again.
Yeah. I did mention that, didn't I, that there were 4 wall patterns and the station is the 4th one.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do here is get to the first shop, first of all. Those little Titanic droids, you don't really want to tow it out with them. Even with 4 shields, they do incredible damage. But yeah, when I first beamed onto the first station, the first time I ever got to the station, the first one of these came along and he killed me in about 10 seconds. And I had chromized armor on everybody. And he killed me in 10 seconds.
But that came as a bit of a surprise, didn't it?
Yeah, at the time, I didn't really understand how the shields worked. I didn't realise that the shields were massed. As in, if you have 1 shield, half damage. If you have 2 shields, half of half, quarter damage. And, 3 shields is 1/8, and 4 shields is a 16th. So you can see these enemies are hitting me for 50 damage with 4 shields. So that'd be 50 times 16.
Yeah. Which is 800, which is a lot.
Yeah, that's enough to wreck a droid part in 1 shot. If you get hit in the chest, you lose your droid instantly. You do get little dragons on this level as well that shoot fire at you, but they are limited to fire. They can't move off of fire. So you probably won't see them in this playthrough. They shoot fireballs at you. They're kind of annoying. They shoot low as well, so I wouldn't be able to hit them with the hunters without using the anti-grav device.
Which means turning a shield off.
Exactly. I mean, it's the same as like the radar. You know, if you want to use the radar, you're going to have to turn one shield off. By the second station, I generally do go down to 3 shields because you got better armor by then. But at this point, it's not a good idea. If you're using any weapon like cannons, it's not a good idea to turn the shields off either because the cannons hurt you. And if you shoot yourself with a twin cannon, it hurts like the blazes. Have a quick look and see what the shield's at. Because when the shields reach 0, they will be destroyed and you have to buy another one. But if it's at 1%, you can repair it. And it's cheaper to repair one than to replace one. Yeah, it's telling you that code. You can guess that code though, you just click on it until you hear a click.
Well, another room full of baddies.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that the game is very roguelike, isn't it? It's got a lot of things to kill. Now, some people might not like that. They might prefer it to be more puzzle-orientated, like Dungeon Master or Eye of the Beholder. But I actually liked killing stuff, and it was pretty good. You don't have to kill everything anyway. You can run around things if you want, or just don't open up certain sections. I actually muffed that up there. I meant to put the deflector on and I accidentally stood on the mine. It only did about 50 damage. But I mean, I can see so much potential for a sequel though. You know, even if you use the same Grimrock flick square approach. So yeah, there are some little dragons there, like you saw them there on the fire.
Yeah. Try
not to get shot by the fireballs because the shields don't protect you from fireballs. You need a fire shield for that. Oh, there's a lift there. I don't think I'll bother with that. I think it's got a code on the floor below, but you don't really need it. Got to be careful there with that code because sometimes you'll shoot the doorman, and as his code falls on the floor, one of those will drop. If one of them has dropped a mine, and you shoot the doorman as he walks on the mine explodes and destroys the code, and you get stuck because you can't open those gates without the codes. So that's a restart. I've had that happen on more than one occasion. See, the game does have some little glitches.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, on the whole,
it's a very professional piece of software.
Yeah, I mean, you compare it to the amount of glitches you get in stuff today. I mean, yeah.
Game-breaking bugs.
It's a very polished game.
It is. It was definitely worthy of its. I can't remember what it got in CU Amiga, I think it was, wasn't it? Back in the day, it must have been greater than 90, probably even 95%. I mean, Zap gave Dungeon Master a gold medal. I think it was the best game they ever reviewed, weren't it? About 98 or something, 98% Dungeon Master.
I think they gave Elite 99 or something. I'll have a look. I will see how much Captive got.
I don't know. Elite is a bit spurious though, isn't it? Because only Bob Wade reviewed that.
Yeah.
You know, Rignall and Penn, they both hated it. I know Rignall was especially critical of Elite on the 64 because of the flickering graphics and the speed. I can't say I disagree. I mean, although it's still a very good version of Elite, it's not a patch on the BBC version.
No, it's not. None of them are. I mean, if all you've got is a Commodore 64, then it's a perfectly serviceable game. But
it is. I bought it, didn't I? In fact, you had the box. I had the game before I had a 64 to play on, and then you had that same box for years. But whatever happened to that box?
I did give it back to you at some point. I've bought it again now.
Yeah, it must have got sold with all the 64 stuff when me and James went over, what was it, Notting Hill? We sold a load of Amiga ST. It must have got sold then.
It's possible. Right, the Amiga format is the only one I can find quickly by looking, and that gave Captive a rating of 91%, which is effectively 9 out of 10, which is a good rating for any game.
It's true. I'm just having a quick look at the radar here to see if there's anything in the vicinity.
Yeah,
I mean,
quite
I do
a lot
know
by the looks of it.
I do, yeah, I do know the layout of the station. The first shop is actually right here. It's guarded by a lot of these damn things. I mean, if you've got twin cannon by this point, these enemies will go down with just 2 shots. But twin cannon takes a lot of grinding to get. And I mean, I did want this to be a fairly quick playthrough. I mean, 2.5 hours ain't bad for the first station. Can do it quicker, but you have to take a lot of risks. I mean, these areas here, for instance, you just have to try to run around everything and pray you don't get stuck.
It's going to be the longest video on my channel, let's put it that way, so far.
Yeah, it's a bit longer than the Carrier Command one, isn't it? That was an hour and a half, wasn't it?
Yeah, we abridged that one though, didn't we?
Yeah, the original Carrier Command video, I think it was like 3 hours. I mean, the Maximum Impact 2 one will probably end up being... That'll probably end up being a couple of hours, won't it? Because it's like all 3 characters.
Well, you say all 3 characters, it's just 3 of the characters
yeah,
you've
the 3
played.
Characters I used, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the game's got a huge roster, isn't it? Especially MIA. Not trodden another mine now. Yeah, it's just as well I have got those 4 shields up, otherwise that'd just be blowing your feet off.
Yeah, they are very useful, those shields, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I was quite surprised to see a guy do the whole station, you know, without using any shields. It took him 5 hours, but he did do it. You know, you literally can't afford to get hit at all, because if you get hit, they do incredible damage. But Trill is actually quite away from the entrance. There's a lot to fight your way through to get to him. I mean, once you do get to Trill, you're given the option to either call it a day or let battle commence, which means you go on to the... Well, Trill gets recaptured and then you do it the next mission, and it goes on and on. The game supposedly got 65,536 bases, which I worked out is about 3,700 missions or something.
Yeah, that'd take you a minute, wouldn't it?
3,734 missions or something if you divide it by 11, isn't it? No, that's it. It's 6,000, isn't it? Actually, I can't remember the exact amount. I mean, 65,536 divided by 11 would give you the number of missions. It's going to be something like... It's going to be greater than 5,000. But yeah, I think I worked out if you took an hour to do each base, it would take you 15 years if you played the game for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. 15 years. But the trouble is you can't do it anyway, because when you get to about, I think it's mission 2,300 and something, there's a bug on one of the levels where the brains encounter doesn't generate, which means the game never loads.
Oh, right, that's where, well, like you say, it's not a perfect game, but how many people are going to get there?
Yeah, I mean, there were bugs in the original version of the game. When version 1 came out, on mission 2, base 3, Fupel, one of the codes generates under a flame, and you can't pick it up, which means you're stuck.
Yeah.
Crowther patched that. In version 1.2, all the flames are replaced with illusionary walls, so you can walk through the illusionary wall and pick the code up. But that was the first time I ever came across the bug. Everyone did. Everyone was writing into magazines saying, like, I can't get past this part of the game. And it's like, yeah, there's a bug. It occurs on later levels as well, or on later missions. Not very often, though. You know, maybe 1 in every 2 missions, 3 missions. You may well get a level where you would get stuck normally.
So how did they sort out about getting that patch? Did you have to write off and get a disc, or?
I didn't. To be honest, in the case of getting stuck on FoodPal, most people just looked in the magazine and they told you the code.
Oh, right.
So I guess they never did. It wasn't until years later when I played it in WinUAE that I actually realised there was a version 1.2. Because if you actually click on those kanji, where it shows you your settings, it tells you the version of the game. It tells you the version of the game when it's loading as well. Version 1.2 has actually got more settings as well. I think they added the 50-60 hertz setting. I play this at 60 hertz because it's just faster. The original game on the ST was considerably slower. But yeah, I suppose if you wanted the updated version, you would. I don't remember them ever offering a replacement disc. They might have done.
I mean, it's not like you could quickly nip onto a website and download it back in 1990, was it really?
But yeah, it wasn't until years later. The funny thing is, I used to play the disc version, which, loads the games. This version here, I'm using the WHD version, which James actually gave me, I think, a year earlier. I didn't realise he'd given me it, and I was still using the disc version. Sitting there waiting for the levels to load. And one day I just noticed the WHD part of WinUAE. And I thought, what's this all about? And I had a look at it, and Captive was in the directory. And I thought, Captive? And I noticed it was version 1.2, and the base is loading. And yeah, I just used that version from then on. No loading, and it cures that bug. But yeah, this area here, you get a lot of these Titanic droids.
Yeah, they do look rather tough.
They do give you a lot of experience, though. We're talking thousands of experience at this point for the encounters, so they're worth killing. But yeah, you notice they're battering my front droids up. They're both down to less than half. Yeah, it changes colour when you're when the damage reaches 50% or less, and then 20% or less.
And your power's dropping on the back too as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm crawling along because no greaser. There's a shop here, but it's very exposed. Oh, that leg's been damaged. Place that. So look, something will come around the corner and shooting at me. Yeah, it's a very exposed shop, that.
All right, yeah, that's a pain, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah.
You imagine popping in a shop for a newspaper and some big thing comes in with guns and starts shooting at you.
Yeah, so you got to be careful here. What I tend to do now when I play this, I didn't do it at the time. I tend to stick a camera at the intersection, and then the fifth screen where it says camera, it shows you a view of the corridor. So you can see if anything's coming along the corridor. But I didn't do it in this playthrough. The cameras can be useful if you put them at strategic locations, and you can have up to 4 cameras as well active at any one moment. Yeah, I've taken a bit of damage there on the old limbs.
Yeah, you have, haven't you?
I mean, you could argue that I'm kind of taking the piss a bit here, and I'm using the cheapest components, and I'm not exactly armed to the teeth. I've got like pretty crappy weapons.
Yeah, but it's getting the job done, though, isn't it? That's,
Yeah, I've gone for a minimalist approach. I mean, I have actually survived with even less than I've got here before. Because when you do a speed run, you really haven't got the money because you don't kill many enemies. So you have to go with lighter armor, worse weapons, less experience. I mean, there is definitely a degree of strategy to it.
Well, I mean, for a lot of games, not necessarily, obviously not arcade games there, but a lot of the games you play do tend to have a strategic element to them.
That's true.
Yeah, I'll have to get you to have a look at, talking of a strategic game, Star Trek: The Rebel Planet on the ST, if you'd be bothered, because that was a game that I watched you complete years ago.
Oh, you mean Rebel Universe?
Oh, Rebel Universe, that's it, not Rebel Planet.
Yeah, Star Trek: The Rebel Universe. Yeah, that is one I definitely want to come back to, because I have finished it.
That'll be on the ST, that one, won't it?
Yeah, I think it only came out on the ST and the 8-bits. It never came out on the Amiga. I'm pretty sure it still isn't even listed on the Star Trek wiki. It lists all the other Star Trek games like 25th Anniversary and Final Unity and Voyager Elite Force, but it doesn't list, Star Trek: The Rebel Universe. Kind of weird. I mean, the 64 version was just lacking the speech, but it was pretty much the same game. But yeah, that is one I do want to come back to.
Well, that's something to look forward to in the future.
I mean, I'm trying to complete Prehistoric Art at the moment and failing miserably.
That's not the easiest of games.
Yeah, I've been trying for 3 days and, I can't get past like level 4 at the moment, not consistently. I mean, it's only got 5 stages, but it's one of those shoot 'em ups where you die and you die very, as James used to say, you die and you're dead. Because you lose your lives continuously. Because you lose all your power, all your speed, and you just get mullered.
Gradius syndrome, innit?
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's worse than Gradius and R-Type because at least they had root levels. You would get put back a bit. But no, Prehistoric Isle, the next plane flies on, blows up, next plane flies on, and before you know it's game over. It's terrible.
Also, I do prefer games where they don't keep sending you back, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. You do need to route it very well. You need to be in the right place, with your power in the right location so you can take the dinosaurs out before they get a shot off. It's like all arcade shooters. If you don't know what you're doing, you tend to be out of position and then you get mullered. See that 16-way code I passed there?
Yeah.
If I hadn't picked that up earlier, you can't get past this bit. You can't guess the 16-way codes. You must have the actual clipboard. I mean, I was thinking if they did make a sequel for this, they could have added like a lot more computer components, like maybe a code breaker, or you could have had the ability to upgrade your chests with more batteries. I mean, the possibilities are endless, aren't they, for what you could add?
Yeah, they definitely are. I mean, all right, you could. I know it'd still be flick square, but you could have it more animated, like Grimrock was and stuff like that. The lighting effects, and especially if you're using like modern PCs and that.
Yeah, I mean, Grimrock, I was very impressed with. It's certainly not as difficult as Captive or Nightmare, but it is a very nice game. They did a good job. It's a shame that they have kind of moved away from that. They've gone on to making different types of games, like Druidstone, which is, I don't know what Druidstone is. It's sort of like Baldur's Gate. It's sort of like Pillars of Eternity. Yeah, Pillars of Eternity, isn't it? But it's not quite like those games. And it feels like they're just treading ground that other people have already done. I don't know, maybe they just wanted to have a go at a different type of game.
Yeah, maybe. It would be interesting to see what they'd do with a game like, a Captive style of game, but I have a feeling, as we know with Grimrock and that, they'd simplify things a bit. Yeah. It'd be dumbed down a little bit, I would say.
Yeah, I think I'm sort of in the minority in that I actually prefer Grimrock 1 to Grimrock 2. I mean, Grimrock 2 graphically is superior in every way. And I like the modding scene on Grimrock 2. I mean, that Eye of the Atlantis, that is a really good total conversion for Grimrock 2. But overall, I actually prefer the gaming elements of Grimrock 1. And I prefer the idea of being in a dungeon to being outside. Grimrock 2, it did disappoint me, to be honest. It seemed a little bit too... The puzzles were too convoluted and the game was too short. And the actual battle system they used was way, way, way too simplistic. And it was way too exploitable. It literally took it was too easy to level up with your basic skill, and then your characters were pretty much invincible. It does kind of remind me of AD&D in that regard. You know, once you hit about level 7, your characters are, well, they start becoming a little bit too powerful.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, especially in games like Baldur's Gate 2, you know, once you start hitting those mid-levels, your characters, you know, barring a party wipe, there's very few encounters that can finish you off. You know, because you attack too many times, and you know, haste and heavily armed fighters equals enemies don't live very long, basically. Well, we're right near Trill here now. We've fought our way through all this bloody crap. We kill off all these droids, because one thing you don't want is Trill getting shot. So make sure all the enemies in the vicinity are dead. Because Trill can die. I mean, you can shoot him yourself if you want. It ends in an instant game over. Yeah, it pretty much says Trill has been killed. You know, droids are to be wasted. So yeah, don't kill Trill. On later missions, Trill is sometimes open. As in, there'll be fire behind him and the enemy can shoot him. I think it happens on Station 3. You've got to be really careful when that happens, that the enemy don't shoot him. Because again, if Trill's between you and an enemy, well, they'll shoot him to get to you. But yeah, you notice how that don't work, because Trill's cell, nope, you can't use the dice, you've got to guess it. But you can see something's behind that door.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, we've found Trill's cell. All we've got to do is work out the combination.
Does that change every time?
No, it's the same every game. And there he is, sodding about with a briefcase, and you've found Trill.
So that is the first lot done.
Yeah, you got to call it a day or let battle commence. If you call it a day, it quits to workbench. If you let battle commence, well, you start at the beginning. Well, Trill gets captured, a robot grabs him basically, and he gets dragged off. And that's it, you're on mission 2, and you have to do it all again. But mission 2's different, it's not the same mission. It's 10 completely different levels, and then the station, a different station. And so it goes on until you get bored with playing it.
That is the first time I have seen a mission done on that for a long time, since you were living in southeast London. I used to come over on the train. I think you showed me it back then, sitting there eating what I used to call Rounder Jeffs, the old cheese toast sandwiches and that. But yeah, what a great classic game that is.
Yeah, I haven't played it seriously, I think, since I did this playthrough. I think the last time before this that I played it seriously, I got to mission 20. I think that was when I was still at Rowena, and then the move came up suddenly, didn't it, to move to Bideford town, and I was about mission 20 and I stopped playing it after that. I think that was when I discovered Wandering Souls, and we know all about that, don't we?
Yeah, that's a conversation for another day, that one.
Yeah, that went on for 3 months, that did, didn't it, Wandering Souls?
Yeah.
My very first Tahoe game, essentially.
Right, so there we go. That's 2.5 hours of that, I should imagine. Have you got anything else to add about Captive?
No, I think we pretty much covered all of it, haven't we?
Yeah, and then some. We went off topic a couple of times, but you know, if it makes for good listening for people listening to the conversation, then that's good. So, thanks for that and for joining me again.
I think there is one thing I can add.
Go on then.
I remember seeing Crowther at I think it was something on YouTube. They spoke to Crowther at I'm not sure if it was that thing you went to, the music thing, or it was something else, but they were talking to Crowther about like what he was doing these days, and someone did actually mention Captive, and he said like, oh, maybe a version on EOS, and I thought, oh please no, We do not want a mobile phone version of Captive. I think he was just mucking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the last time I heard anything from Crowther about what he was doing these days.
Well, I'll send him a link to this, and maybe he'll have time to watch it and give us some feedback. Maybe he won't. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Right. Well, cheers for that, mate. It was nice to see another playthrough. This one's, very different to a lot of the other stuff we've done.
Oh yeah, certainly.
And I will say, as usual, thank you to everyone for watching. And we'll see you in another video. But until then, laters.
Yep, laters.